Chapter 548. Stealing the Sky and Swapping the Sun. Six Paths was a little surprised. You mean we can take over Momoshiki's body and then go back and tell Otsutsuki that the rebellion has been resolved? That's right. Garashi nodded. We can't kill him. That will only attract more Otsutsuki. Six Paths thought for a moment and said, but there is one thing. Momoshiki's strength should increase greatly after the ceremony. We can't really host the ceremony. How can we create the illusion that his strength has increased? We can't create an illusion. Otsutsuki will see through it. Garashi said, in addition to hosting the ceremony, there is another way to increase his strength. You mean the servant he brought with him? Six Paths shook his head slightly. Although the servant can also make chakra pills, the effect of chakra pills alone is not as good as the chakra fruit of the tree of God. If one servant is not enough, how about adding a superior warrior? Garashi said with a smile. Superior warrior? Six Paths' expression changed slightly. You mean Otsutsuki's first style? He's still alive? Shushi nodded. He even ambushed me in my world. Sure enough, that guy won't die so easily. Six Paths' expression was dignified. But how do we lure him out? Isn't the ready-made bait right here? Shushi smiled and pointed at himself. Six Paths was surprised. You want to use yourself as bait? Garashi said. He attacked me, which means I have something that attracts him. Also, as you can see, I'm just a doppelganger in this world. It's not a big deal to lose it. Six Paths nodded slightly. He could see Garashi's background, but he still felt ashamed. I can't believe I let an outsider like you risk your life for our world. I'm so ashamed. You're too serious. After solving the crisis of this world, I can deal with the threat of my world more easily. Garashi paused and continued, but there is one thing, before I use Otsutsuki's first style, you'd better not appear, otherwise, I'm afraid I'll scare him away. The dominator of the Six Paths said solemnly, I will fall into a deep sleep again and make sure that I don't leak any of my aura. I will only wake up when the truth-seeking jade starts to move. That's great, Garashi said as he looked outside. The morale-raising ceremony is almost done. It's time for me to leave. Six Paths said solemnly, I'll leave the rest to you. Thank you for your sacrifice for the people of this world. The morale-raising ceremony ended, and the war officially began. In the command center of the Alliance Army, emergency reports kept ringing out. The 4th unit reported that 4 enemies were found. They are the 2nd Tsuchikage, the 2nd Mizukage, the 4th Kazakage, and the 3rd Reikage. What? AI stood up with an angry look on his face. Those bastards of Akatsuki also defiled Dad? Inoki's eyes were gloomy. How dare you dig up Master Wu's grave? Unforgivable. The resurrection of the Kage in the villages has a great impact on the morale. Tsunade said with a dignified expression and looked to the side. Second Grandpa, you said before that if the person who is reborn knows the seal of the Edo Tensei, he can unlock it by himself? Tobarama nodded. In theory, yes. Tsunade suggested, then let's hurry up and tell the 4 Kage how to make the seal so that they can break free from the control. It's useless. Tobarama shook his head slightly. It takes time to make the seal. Once they start to make the seal, they will be controlled by the caster. Tsunade sighed. Sure enough, it won't work. Hashirama was eager to try. The 4 Kage are resurrected, and we also have 4 Kage here. Why don't you let the 4 of us deal with them? Tobarama's mouth twitched slightly. Brother, aren't you bullying us? Otsutsuki decisively refused. The only person who can deal with Madara on our side is you, the first Naruto. If you can't get to the battlefield in time when Madara appears, it may cause huge casualties to the Alliance army. Let the 4th Naruto take the 3rd Naruto to reinforce them. Minato nodded and said. I have no problem. Hiruzen also said, just let me do my job. That's good, that's it. Suddenly, the liaison sent frequent alerts. Lazy's first unit will soon meet the enemy's army of White Zetsu, and there are many strong Edo Tensei. Mizukage-sama's daimyo guard also encountered many enemies. This direction. It's Uchiha Itachi and Chakra. They met the Hachibi and the Kyubi's Jinchuriki. Reikage's eyes widened. Who let them go out? Hashirama raised his hand weakly. The Uchiha boy said that he sensed his brother's chakra and wanted to find him. I thought it was good to communicate between brothers, so I let him go. Naruto was worried about him and said that he wanted to go out with him. The Hachibi's Jinchuriki said that Naruto hasn't learned the Bijudama yet and wanted to teach him on the way. I also agreed. Ai's eyes twitched wildly, and he almost couldn't resist the urge to hit him. On a tree-lined path. Naruto, Sasuke. Naruto. Sasuke's face was sour. His brother called Naruto's name first. Killer Bee was even more speechless. Was he being ignored? Itachi. Naruto responded to Itachi's greeting, and then looked at the old man with white hair who needed Itachi's support. Who are you? Cough. Nagato choked. Have you forgotten my voice so soon? My good brother. It's you, Pain. Naruto stared. No wonder your body hasn't appeared. It turns out that your kidney is so weak. It's not kidney deficiency, it's overdraft of my life potential. Nagato emphasized it for the dignity of a man. Naruto said seriously. That's right. It's because I overdraft my life potential that my kidney is weak. You, Itachi on the side took over the topic, and his eyes switched to the Mangekyo form. Naruto, look at my eyes. Naruto looked over obediently. What's wrong? Killer Bee was taken aback. Naruto, be careful of his Amaterasu. Seeing that Naruto didn't have any special reaction, Itachi looked at Sasuke with a complicated expression. Guarding wood leaf jutsu is finally used on you, Sasuke. However, Sasuke sneered. Who wants to guard wood leaf jutsu? Don't force your thoughts on me. Itachi was shocked. Your thoughts. With that, he winked at Naruto again. Sasuke was in a bad mood. Stop flirting. If you want to stimulate Shirsue's Kodo Amatsukami, you'd better give up. Itachi was surprised. You know Shirsue's Kodo Amatsukami? Sasuke said sarcastically. Not only do I know, but we also roasted and ate the crow. Chapter 549. Itachi smiled helplessly. You're still the same as before, you don't even know how to lie. Sasuke looked unhappy. You're still the same as before, always looking at me with such eyes. Itachi was stunned. Yeah, you've grown a lot, I really. At this time, Nagato made a sound that didn't belong to him. Oh, allow me to interrupt the two of you. You just mentioned Uchiha Shirsue's Kodo Amatsukami. This voice. Naruto's face changed slightly. You're Kabuto. Hiss, it seems that my sense of existence has really become a lot stronger. Kabuto felt gratified, and then said, can you answer my question? Itachi didn't hide it, he also wanted to know why his arrangement failed. I implanted Shirsue's jutsu in Naruto's eyes, using my Mangekyo as a trigger medium. If Sasuke transplants my eyes and faces wood leaf, the jutsu called Guard Wood Leaf will take effect, so that Sasuke will no longer be an enemy of wood leaf. Oh, you're ready to modify your brother's will before you die, you're indeed Itachi. Kabuto said with half admiration and half sarcasm. Itachi ignored him and said, I originally planned to use this jutsu on me if it didn't have time to take effect, to get rid of the control of Edo Tensei, but I didn't expect this jutsu to fail for some reason. Nagato's pupils shrank. Sure enough, they're a group of difficult guys, all of them want to break free from my control. Killer Bee caught the key information, all of them. Who else? Nagato naturally didn't mind giving Madara a bad look. Of course, it's Uchiha Madara, he's now free. Uchiha Madara. The three were a little surprised, but they weren't too worried. Not to mention the unfathomable Garashi, Sama, even First Dame Naruto has a record of defeating Uchiha Madara. Looking at Itachi's eyes, Naruto said honestly, the eyes you left in my body were taken away by Garashi-sama. Itachi was surprised. The mysterious powerhouse who helped you defeat pain? Naruto nodded. Well, maybe it's because Garashi Dage got Shirsue's right eye from Danzo, and there's a connection between the two eyes. Nagato's eyes lit up, and he thought to himself, he actually got Shirsue's complete pair of eyes. Perhaps I should change my plan and start with him. If it was just an eye, he might have to consider whether it was worth it. After all, the other party was a strong enemy who defeated pain. But if it's a pair of eyes, the meaning is completely different. In the case of doubling the power of his eyes, he may be able to regain control of Madara. Moreover, the other party was an enemy. Since he was an enemy, it meant that they would meet sooner or later. Thinking of this, the desire in Duban's heart grew even more intense, and he no longer cared about fighting the three of them. After all, the Hachibi and Kyuubi's Jinchuriki are Uchiha Bordered Soil's goal, not his, so he is too lazy to work for others. Killer Bee's eyes were sharp, and he noticed that Nagato didn't want to fight. Be careful, he's going to escape. No. Sasuke's face changed. I haven't made it clear to Itachi yet. Sorry, I'm not a caring big brother. I have no obligation to chat with you. Duban smiled and controlled Nagato and Itachi to retreat. However, if you're willing to come to my side, let alone let you talk, I'll send Uchiha Itachi to your bed. Don't run. Naruto shouted and chased after him. Super Shinra Tensei. Duban was very decisive and directly activated the Shinra Tensei at maximum power, raising the forest they were in to the ground. The three of them were also blasted a few kilometers away by this powerful repulsive force. When the storm subsided, Itachi and Nagato were long gone. So strong, worthy of the host of Rinnegan. Killer Bee looked around in surprise. If he wasn't in a hurry to leave, the three of us might not be his opponents. Naruto's expression was dignified. Of course he's strong. That bastard killed Jiraiya, sensei. Sasuke's face was dark all the time. No matter how much of a bastard Itachi is, he can't be controlled by a rat in the gutter. Let's go back and inform Big Brother. Killer Bee said in a deep voice. He heard you talking about Shirsue's eyes, so he wanted to retreat. It means that he's probably eyeing Shirsue-sama. Huh? He's eyeing Garashi, Dage? Naruto opened his mouth wide. Isn't it good to be alive? By the way, I forgot that they're all dead. Don't say such stupid things. If these bastards interfere with Garashi-sama because of us, and ultimately affect the outcome of the war, we'll be sinners in history. Sasuke's voice was cold. Let's go back now and block those bastards outside. Killer Bee nodded. Also inform the headquarters. Since that guy named Duban is eyeing Garashi-sama, there must be more than two of them. At the same time, in Akatsuki's base. Bordered Soil, who was adapting to Hachibi's eyes, suddenly stood up. That bastard found the traces of Hachibi and Kyuubi's Jinchuriki, but he didn't entangle them. It's stupid. Uchiha Madara on the side joked. It seems that the ally you found is not reliable. Bordered Soil looked at him calmly. In this world, the only person you can rely on is yourself. Madara narrowed his eyes. It seems that you're going to do it yourself? Bordered Soil sighed. In any case, the initiative must be in our hands. Madara nodded. You're right, so I'll go with you. Bordered Soil's voice was calm. It's rare for you to have such an interest. Madara laughed loudly. I also want to know if the ninja of this era is qualified to dance in front of me. Frontline troops, the 3rd unit. In the temporary clinic. Sakura was fiddling with the medical kit, and Niji asked casually. Sakura, where's Captain Shizen? Sakura said casually, Shizen-senpai is treating Dolphin. His foot seems to be badly sprained. Niji asked with concern. It's better to hurt her foot than to hurt her hand. Can she still return to the battlefield? Sakura froze and said with a strange look. Ha, 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 yes, if her hand is fine, at least she can print. Yes. Niji said and stretched out his right hand and approached Sakura. My wrist still hurts a little. Can you help me? Of course. While Sakura lowered her head, Niji grabbed the kunai with his left hand and stabbed it hard. Then, he was knocked to the ground by Sakura's heavy punch. How is it possible? My subtle disguise was seen through by you. Sakura's mouth twitched. Idiot, how can a pig have a hand? White Zetsu, who showed his true form, looked sad and angry. It's despicable to deceive me with a pig's name. Don't talk nonsense. Tell me how you disguised yourself as Niji. Sakura said with some fear. If this idiot didn't give himself away, she might not have found out the problem. White Zetsu grinned. My transformation technique is the best in the ninja world. You are lucky, but others won't be as lucky as you. Sakura's heart was cold. Indeed, only a few people can recognize the enemy. Once they are allowed to wreak havoc, the trust built in the major ninja villages will soon disappear. At that time, the ninja coalition will collapse without the enemy's help. Thinking of this, Sakura punched hard. Damn it. Seeing Sakura so angry, White Zetsu laughed wildly. Even if you kill one of me, there will be thousands of me standing up, plop. The tent opened, and Mizuki grabbed a long string of white zetsu and threw it on the ground. These white zetsu were strung up by wooden vines. Sakura blinked and asked, Mizuki, Dage, these are? Mizuki's voice was cold. There was a bastard who dared to approach me in the appearance of the leader. After killing him, I simply dealt with all the bastards in the camp. The one in your hand should be the last one, then I'll leave them to you. Chapter 550. Looking at the stunned and sluggish white zetsu, Sakura said sympathetically, thousands of you are here. White Zetsu's face was grim. Impossible, this is absolutely impossible. Mizuki glanced at him indifferently. It would be strange if he couldn't sense the aura strengthened by Mokuton. However, he didn't intend to explain to these bastards who made him unhappy and walked out without saying a word. Sakura completely knocked down White Zetsu with a heavy punch, then hurriedly chased after him. Mizuki-san, can you tell me how you found them? I'm worried that these bastards have infiltrated the other troops. Mizuki's tone was calm. They've been strengthened by Mokuton. Those who are proficient in Mokuton can naturally sense it. Strengthened by Mokuton. Sakura's face changed greatly. Some time ago, Captain Yamato disappeared. Was he captured by the Akatsuki and used to strengthen these white zetsu? Also, the other troops are not like our third army. With Mizuki-san's help, they will still be affected. At this time, a rush of footsteps came from a distance. Sakura turned her head, looked at the person who came, and said happily, Kakashi-sensei, quickly inform the other troops that a large number of white zetsu have mixed into the coalition forces with the help of transformation jutsu. The current way to crack them is to use Mokuton's power to investigate. Kakashi looked at the series of white zetsu with some surprise, and after listening to Sakura's explanation, his expression became more dignified. Mokuton's power, this is difficult. Although there was someone in front of him who could use Mokuton, Mizuki was Garashi-sama's guard. It was already difficult for him to eradicate the white zetsu in the Third Army. If he asked someone to ignore his duty and go to other troops to help investigate, it would be inconsiderate. I will inform the headquarters about the white zetsu. Kakashi paused, then continued, just now, the command center sent 2 messages. First, Naruto and Yunan's Hachibi Jinchuriki went out without permission and encountered the enemy. Although the enemy temporarily retreated, the next large-scale action against them is expected. Therefore, the headquarters ordered our troops to move closer to their area so that we can support them at any time. Naruto. Sakura was nervous, then asked, why support them at any time? Doesn't Naruto's father know Flying Thunder God Jutsu? He should be able to bring them back to the headquarters before the enemy arrives, right? With that said, Sakura's face changed. Could it be that the headquarters wants to use Naruto as bait? This is too much. Kakashi sighed. They clearly know how important they are, yet they still ran out on their own. The command center wants to teach them a lesson, right? Xiaoying pouted. However, will the enemy really fall for such an obvious trap? This is a conspiracy, Kakashi said. If the enemy doesn't appear, then Naruto and the others can naturally return safely. If the enemy appears, it's already good news for the current situation where the enemy is in the dark. Xiaoying stopped talking and secretly glanced at Shueimou. She thought to herself, it's not a bad idea for all the major forces to meet up. If there's another blind white Zetsu who offends Senior Shueimou, he can also get rid of the hidden danger. At this thought, Xiaoying asked, Teacher Kakashi, what's the second thing? Kakashi looked at Mizuki apologetically, because Naruto accidentally revealed that Garashi-sama has Uchiha Shirsue's eyes. Garashi-sama may be targeted by someone. According to the intelligence, Kirin's 7 legendary swordsmen were reincarnated by Edo Tensei and are moving quickly towards our location. It's very likely that they're the enemy's advance troops. 7 legendary swordsmen? Mizuki's indifferent face became kind for the first time. Oh, it's really fate. Fate? Sakura asked, puzzled, Senpai, have you ever crossed paths with the 7 legendary swordsmen? Mizuki recalled, in my world, the 7 legendary swordsmen were the first major crisis we encountered under the leadership of our leader. After all, we were only 12 years old at that time. 12 years old. Sakura thought of her own powerlessness when she met Orochimaru in the Chunin exam and asked worriedly, how did you escape in the end? In her mind, she had already imagined the touching scene of Brother Garashi fighting a bloody battle for everyone and finally waiting for reinforcements to arrive before he fainted. Kakashi also recalled that when he was 12 years old, he had just been promoted to Jonin. It was the peak of his life, and then he suffered one major blow after another. He couldn't help but sigh, sure enough, no one's success is easy. Presumably, Garashi-sama has a lot of bitterness and tears behind his back. Escape? Mizuki was startled. Oh, you mean the 7 legendary swordsmen, right? After the leader killed 5 of them, the other 2 barely escaped. Sakura was stunned. This was a bit different from what she imagined. Senpai, didn't you say there was a major crisis? Yes. Aren't heroes people who can create miracles in danger? Mizuki said, under the leader's encouragement, we temporarily learned the 4 purple flame formation and divided the 7 legendary swordsmen. Although the formation could only last for a few seconds, it was enough for the leader to kill 5 of them. Sakura recalled the time when she was scared by Orochimaru and didn't dare to move. She lowered her head dispiritedly, I am trash. We are not the same, not the same. Kakashi felt that people's joys and sorrows were not the same. He could only be ravaged by fate, but Garashi-sama created miracles. After completing the daily puff, Mizuki was refreshed. His mood, which was destroyed by White Zetsu before, was a lot better. He licked the corner of his mouth and smiled cruelly, let me deal with the 7 legendary swordsmen. In the past, I could only hide behind the leader, and it made me unhappy for a long time. Looking at Mizuki's expression, which was similar to Orochimaru's, Sakura and Kakashi couldn't help but shiver. They subconsciously mourned for the 7 legendary swordsmen. At the same time, the 7 legendary swordsmen and Haku were galloping in the forest. The 7 legendary swordsmen have to join forces to deal with one person. That person is really cautious. Inhachi sneered. Rather than being cautious, it's better to say that he doesn't understand our strength. Nakamura said. Humph. I hope that this alliance won't ruin the reputation of the 7 legendary swordsmen. Kurosakura coldly looked at If You Don't Kill and Lin Chuyu and said, especially you juniors. At this time, Haku suddenly asked, have the seniors ever joined forces to fight an enemy? The few people who were originally restless immediately quieted down. They did have the experience of joining forces to fight an enemy, but it was embarrassing. Inhachi scolded, children, don't interrupt. If You Don't Kill suddenly became cold. In the case of joining forces, 3 of you were killed by a woodleaf genin, and you have the nerve to scold my people? Chapter 551. A simple sentence immediately stung the sensitive nerves of the three. Jinpachi was angry. What did you say, kid? Kanemaru said coldly, weren't you also defeated by Woodleaf Genin? If you don't kill emphasized, it was a Woodleaf Jonin and 3 Woodleaf Genin. That's different. Can that beast be called a Genin? Fugu was dissatisfied. Seeing if you don't kill, Sama took the initiative to defend himself. Haku's eyes were dazzling, and he took the initiative to defend himself. I don't think Naruto and the others are ordinary genin. On the side, Yuri Lin couldn't listen anymore. I say, can't you be a bit more ambitious? Are genin worthy of your concern? If you don't kill said, you don't understand, they're really special. Mangetsu, who hadn't spoken, interrupted their conversation. Here we are, it's clear who's holding back and who's holding back. Looking at the panicked Alliance ninjas in front, Fugu grinned, summon your swords, I can't wait to taste their blood. I'm sorry, the shark bone is being held by someone else, so I can't communicate with it. Similarly, I can't communicate with Zabuza's beheading katana and my double katana. Mangetsu said as he took out a scroll and communicated with the other 4 ninja swords. If you don't kill twisted his neck and wrist, it just so happens that neither of us has a sword, so it's fairer to compare. Haku secretly said in his heart, if you don't kill, Sama doesn't have a sword, then let me be your weapon. While talking, the 8 of them rushed into the Alliance camp like tigers coming down the mountain. In front of the 4 people with swords, let alone a chunin, even an ordinary jonin would find it difficult to resist. Just when they were having fun and gradually regaining their confidence before death, the surrounding trees suddenly grew crazily and chased after the 8 people as if they were alive. This is Mokutan. Surprised, if you don't kill quickly dodged. Fuba, use your explosive blade, flying foam to blow up these eyesore vines. Shursui Tanmaru reminded. Understood. Fuhachi waved his sword and slashed around. With a roar, the cage woven by the sea of trees exploded. The 8 people escaped from the passage and breathed a sigh of relief, then they heard a violent vibration sound behind them. Looking back, the sea of trees that trapped them before gradually turned into a 100-armed giant. A cold man with strange patterns on his face sat on top of the giant's head, looking down at them. Same as me, or even more perfect than me in sage mode? Kabuto, who was remotely controlling the 8 of them, licked his lips. I really want to eat you. At the same time, Mangetsu said, he is the target's guard. Only by defeating him can you get close to that man. Hearing this, everyone's words ninja sensei even a guard can use Mokutan, and he has a huge chakra, the target isn't a simple person. In fact, even many members of the Alliance had some doubts, they didn't know the identity of Mizuki. However, they can at least see that Mizuki is on the side of the Alliance, so they naturally waved their flags and shouted. Mizuki looked at the 8 people condescendingly, and his eyes glanced at if you don't kill. Momochi, if you don't kill? Just in time to make up for my regret of not being able to take the Chunin exam. Without waiting for the 7 people to speak, Mizuki directly skipped the pre-battle trash talk and controlled the giant's 100 arms to push out at the same time. A single arm was already comparable to a small mountain. If 100 arms were to appear at the same time, how vast would the area of coverage be? The 8 people were shocked, even if they were Edo Tensei, they didn't want to experience the humiliation of being flattened. However, just as they were about to escape, the earth under their feet seemed to come alive, entangled them, and then lifted them up and took the initiative to send them to the giant arm. Boom! After a while, Mizuki controlled the giant to retract its arm, and the wind blew, and the 8 stickers on the ground flew up. Fugu took a deep breath, and his flattened body inflated. He gritted his teeth and said, bastard. Don't forget that I am immortal. If you don't kill was also gloomy. You didn't take the opportunity to seal us, that was your biggest mistake. Mizuki crossed his arms. When a cat catches a mouse, it usually likes to play with the mouse until it dies. Unfortunately, I have a similar hobby. You like to play, right? Then I'll let you play enough. If you don't kill's eyes were violent, and he raised his left hand. Silent killing technique. The hazy fog obscured everyone's sight, and there was a hidden killing intent in the haze. Immortal art, white stimulation technique. Mizuki opened his mouth and spat out a red light dragon that was playing around the bead. The dragon circled and swam, causing the surrounding air to vibrate violently. The 8 people in the fog only felt that their bones were rubbing against each other until they were broken into powder. The fog quickly dispersed, and if you don't kill collapsed on the ground like soft mud. He cursed unwillingly, damn it, we were played by him again. Mizuki didn't take the opportunity to seal them, but watched them recover with interest. Once again, the 8 people attacked together, but it was still useless. Mizuki, who had mastered many Kekkai Genkai and Sage Mode, was much stronger than them in terms of absolute strength. Looking at the famous 7 legendary swordsmen being defeated again and again, the people in the alliance who were waiting for them were a little numb, and even couldn't bear it. Although these strong people who were reincarnated from the Edo Tensei didn't feel pain, being killed again and again, the psychological trauma was far greater than the physical pain. What was more painful was that they had to fight. It was rare for the enemy to be so arrogant, so naturally, Kabuto wouldn't let go of this opportunity to collect information. Finally, the 7 legendary swordsmen who were killed again and again couldn't bear the humiliation. Damn it, I don't want to play anymore. Bullshit the human world, I want to go back to the underworld. Under the strong desire to commit suicide, they actually broke free from the control of the Edo Tensei and forced their souls to ascend to heaven. This scene surprised Garashi, who was watching the battle from afar. Originally, he was optimistic about Kabuto, the dream realization master, and thought that Kabuto could use his excellent battlefield micro to deliver the heads without leaving a trace, complete a wave of reform, and then let their souls ascend to heaven. However, this battlefield micro master he was optimistic about might be addicted to delivering heads, and he actually delivered them to him. This gave him a headache. If he didn't take the heads delivered to him, wouldn't it be too conspicuous? Just as he was thinking about how to deal with it, Mizuki gave him a surprise. He actually found a physical way to expiate the souls. Kabuto, who was hiding in a dark cave playing chess, widened his eyes and almost crushed the chess piece in his hand into powder. Can the Edo Tensei be released like this? Damn it, in the end, I still didn't get the result I wanted. Although he didn't think that the 7 legendary swordsmen would be able to see Shirsue's eyes from the target, he never thought that they would be played to death. Damn it, it seems that my plan has to change again. Chapter 552. In the forest, a group of 8 people was divided into 2 teams and shuttled quickly. One team was Bordered Soil's 6 Paths of the Bordered Soil, and the other team was Uchiha Madara. Bordered Soil stopped jumping in the forest and said with a smile, Black Zetsu sent news that after abandoning Hachibi and Kyubi's Jinchuriki, he stared at the mysterious man who defeated Pain and used the 7 legendary swordsmen to collect information. But his luck doesn't seem to be good. He didn't even see the 7 legendary swordsmen of the swordsmen. 7 legendary swordsmen of the 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 swordsmen? Bordered Soil smiled. I mention this, naturally, not because they are strong, but because their way of escape is interesting. Madara was a little surprised. What else can it be besides being sealed? Although he can unlock the Edo Tensei, who is he? He can do things that ordinary people can't do. Bordered Soil jumped between the trees and said without looking back. They were killed by the mysterious man's guards countless times. Finally, they couldn't bear the humiliation and forced their souls to go to heaven. Madara's eyes were playful. Killed countless times without being sealed. It can be seen that he is a bad guy. It's really bad, and it opened a door for others. Bordered Soil continued. Since extreme humiliation and anger can force the soul of the Edo Tensei to go to heaven, what about other emotions? Or, what about other ways of humiliation? For those who are strong and not easy to seal, this may be a new way of thinking. Madara heard something wrong, and his voice was cold. What do you mean? Madara-sama, don't think too much. I just remind you in advance that you must abandon your sense of shame. Bordered Soil joked. I don't want a strong ally to go to heaven because of a few words. Take care of the 6 behind you. It's not your turn to worry about my affairs, Madara said coldly. Except for the time when Hashirama stood behind him when he was a child, which made him so nervous that he couldn't pee, he was not afraid of anything else. That would be for the best. Bordered Soil nodded slightly and returned to business. You should be prepared to go all out, right? Madara suppressed his anger and laughed. Those fools don't know our real strength. They think they set a trap and wait for us to jump in, but they seem to forget one thing. In front of me, they don't even have a chance to close the net. Bordered Soil touched his left eye with a smile. You can't say that. Without the pupil's skill of this eye, we would be in trouble. Madara looked at the eye with some fear. His Tomb of Reincarnation can be said to be the ultimate secret jutsu. It is invincible against those who have not touched the realm of the six paths, but against those of the same level, it is no different from an advanced version of the clone jutsu. As for that person's eyes, even people in this field would find it hard to guard against. At this time, Bordered Soil suddenly said, we are about to enter their perception range. I will transfer you into the Kamui space first. My left eye can only shrink myself and other inanimate objects. Madara was excited. Hurry up, I'm waiting to enjoy the expressions of those people. On the battlefield where the fourth unit was located. You have become the Kazekage. Looking at Gaara, who was called the Kazekage, Raza was shocked. He was not as shocked as he was when he found out that he was reincarnated by the Edo Tensei. Gaara stood on the sand cloud, and looked down at Raza with a complicated expression. I used to hate you so much that I even looked forward to killing you with my own hands one day. But when I really sat in this position, I began to understand your actions, father. Father? Raza smiled bitterly. I think I am a qualified Kazekage, but I am not a competent father. Hey, can you delay your father's talk for a while? We are at war. Be serious. Genjutsu said helplessly. The Raikage looked at the opposite side in confusion. Sandame Naruto, why are you on the opposite side? Hiruzen laughed. Because we were reincarnated by our own people. Huh. Why can't you at least Kage attack your own people? It's really annoying. The second Tsuchikage said and raised his hand. Inoki's pupils suddenly shrank. Be careful, it's Wusama's dust release. Receiving the warning, the allied forces hurriedly fled. Not only that, but Inoki also did the same thing. It seems that you haven't forgotten that only dust release can deal with dust release. Wusama nodded with satisfaction, and a bright beam of light shot out from his hands. At the moment when the two beams of light were about to collide, the beam of light belonging to Wusama suddenly disappeared. In Wusama's surprised eyes, the beam of light washed over him like a torrent and smashed him into pieces. Then, a violent wave came from the distance. The second Tsuchikage's attack was diverted. After perceiving the wave coming from the distance, everyone suddenly had this thought. This is the second Naruto's Flying Thunder God Jutsu. Wusama, whose body was constantly recovering, stared at Minato, who flashed back. Who are you? Although dust release takes a long time to prepare, the attack speed is extremely fast, and this man can divert his attack at the moment when dust release is about to collide. This reaction ability is even more amazing than the Flying Thunder God itself. Minato smiled gently. I'm the fourth Naruto. So cool. Naruto waved his fist and showed off to the side. Sasuke, isn't my father powerful? Are you a child? Childish. Although he said that, Sasuke's heart was a little sour. Why didn't that bastard Kabuto reincarnate his father? He also wanted his father to see his achievements today. The fourth generation? Woodleaf is really talented. The second Mizukage asked curiously. What about our Kirin? Inoki was silent for a moment. The current fifth Mizukage is a very good leader. The second Mizukage nodded. What else? Inoki thought for a moment and said euphemistically. There's a lot of room for development. The second Mizukage's mouth twitched. It doesn't sound good. Can you be specific? Anoki sighed. Let's put it this way. Almost all the Kekii Genkai clans have rebelled or were exterminated. The Jinchuriki is also dead. Only one of the 7 legendary swordsmen is left. The second Mizukage took a deep breath. Kirin hasn't been removed from the 5 great shinobi villages? Thank you very much for your kindness. In return, let me balance the strength of each village. Steam danger explosive might. As soon as his voice fell, a short and fat second Mizukage flew out from the ground, jumped into the crowd, and exploded like a bomb. Chapter 553. Boom! The sudden explosion startled the Allied forces, and the heat wave made everyone feel like they were in a sea of fire. But when they opened their eyes, they found that they weren't burned by the heat wave. In the middle of the crowd, a thick layer of sandball trapped the Mizukage's clone inside. After rejoicing, everyone cheered loudly. Fortunately, Gara-sama is here. It's the Kazakage-sama who protected us. However, Gara's expression was solemn. Be careful, it's about to start. The sealed doppelganger seeped out from the cracks in the sand and turned back into the appearance of a dwarf. Not only that, but the other 3 Kages also acted. Raza's gold dust surged like a waterfall, and he used the dust release to attack the surrounding coalition forces. The Raikage activated the lightning chakra mode and rampaged through the crowd like a bull. Is this the strength of the previous Kage? Amazing. Cooperate with the Kazakage, Tsuchikage, and Naruto to attack. Attack the third Raikage first. Compared to Wu who flew around in the sky, Raza who hid behind the sandball, and Genjutsu who used the summon beast, Clam, to create a mirage to hide his body, the Allied forces naturally preferred to besiege the third Raikage. However, the ninjutsu used by hundreds of people at the same time couldn't even break the skin of the third Raikage. The third Raikage is worthy of the title of the strongest shield. Wind attacks the thunder, send the wind release ninjas. Under the leadership of Temari, all the wind release ninjas who could use long-range attacks stood up. Wind release team, use wind release, net. The wind howled like a whirlwind composed of countless blades. Even if it was hundreds of meters away, it gave a sharp feeling. But such a powerful storm was directly torn apart by the third Raikage. Seeing this situation, everyone's eyes almost popped out. Isn't wind attacks the thunder? Anyway, this defense is too exaggerated. The Raikage could suppress the Hachibi in the past. We need a stronger wind release ninja. Let me do it. Hearing the need for a stronger wind release ninja, Naruto stood up enthusiastically. Me too. Hiruzen said with a smile, I'm quite proficient in wind release. The Raikage rushed towards them and shouted, come on, use your spears to break my shield. While the two sides were fighting, 2 people with dark circles under their eyes met. Let me test whether you are qualified to be a Kazakage or not. Raza said, and the gold dust around him suddenly became violent. Without the blessing of the previous Kazakage, this ceremony is indeed incomplete. Watch, father, I will prove my strength to you. Gaara waved his hand, and the sand on the entire battlefield began to riot. On the other side, Sasuke and the second Mizukage faced each other. In front of these eyes, this kind of low-level genjutsu is useless. Sasuke calmly walked towards the hiding place of genjutsu. This kind of arrogant tone, should I say that you're worthy of being an Uchiha? Genjutsu knew that he couldn't hide, so he simply stood up. No strength is arrogance, but strength is confidence. Sasuke raised his right hand and threw a Chidori sharp spear at Genjutsu. What an annoying kid. The second Mizukage sighed and took the initiative to meet him. On the last battlefield, the second Tsuchikage and Inoki used dust release to attack each other. You're still at Tsuchikage at this age, it seems that the village hasn't developed well these years. Is it still the same as before, with few talents? Wu asked while shooting dust release. We are the rock Krypsis who understood the will of stone. Showing off has never been our characteristic. Our vitality lies in tenacity. Even if fate doesn't stand on our side, we will survive. Anoki replied with an indisputable tone. It's really hard for you to have this kind of belief. Wu was surprised. I just picked myself up from the tracks of another world. Anoki bypassed the seal and mentioned it in a way that brushed the edge of the topic. Just when the two sides were fighting, in the middle of the battlefield, a tiny particle suspended in the air opened its eyes and aimed its Mangekyo Sharingan at Naruto. Do you think I'll wait for them to fight fiercely or when the battle is over? I'm sorry, but the best timing is not the best choice. In front of the third Raikage, Naruto was shocked. So strong. Even Futon, Raisin Shuriken can't break Grandpa Raikage's defense. What should I do? Suddenly, the space above Naruto's head fluctuated, and a big hand stretched out and grabbed his neck with lightning speed. Got you, Fox. Almost at the moment when Naruto was caught, Madara summoned the Geto Mazo and began to pull the bijou out. The sudden change attracted everyone's attention, and they couldn't believe it. Naruto. Uchiha Madara. What is this monster? Just when their attention was attracted by Madara, the dust behind Killer Bee instantly magnified countless times, and the 6 clones created by the Edo Tensei were also released. 7 of them attacked Killer Bee at the same time. The command center monitoring several major battlefields suddenly issued a sharp alarm. 8 unusually huge chakras suddenly appeared in the 4th battlefield, and their target is the 2 Jinchuriki. Not good, the vitality of Hachibi and Kyubi's Jinchuriki is rapidly weakening. Hearing the report, everyone in the command center was shocked. Why wasn't there a warning in advance? How did the enemy do it? Tobirama was puzzled. Hearing the rapid weakening of the vitality, A's body shook, and then he shouted at the top of his lungs. Take me to the battlefield over there, now. Hashirama patted Tobirama's shoulder. There's no time to wonder, take us there with Flying Thunder God Jutsu. And me. Tsunade said nervously. Take me with you. I understand. Tobirama knew that time was pressing, and no longer hesitated. He directly took everyone to Minato. Back to the battlefield. Killer Bee was also caught by bordered soil and began to pull the bijou out. Everyone in the coalition army returned to their senses and madly attacked the Geto Mazo. However, most of their attacks didn't work on the Geto Mazo at all. The slightly threatening ninjutsu was absorbed by Madara and bordered soil with the ability of Rinnegan. Seeing this situation, Hashirama pointed to Madara and shouted. Madara, stop it. Seeing Hashirama's arrival, the flame in Madara's eyes burned. It's too late, Hashirama, feel the fear and anger of those bijou. Knowing that the enemy is you, they even struggle less. Next, it's time for the Jubi to appear. Chapter 554. Hashirama wanted to continue to persuade, but it was too late. He was thrown out by his brother as a hidden weapon. Seeing such a big Hashirama flying towards him, Madara was not angry but happy. Let me show you my current strength. Bansho Tenshin. Although he was pulled by Tobirama and Madara, Hashirama was the god of ninja. He adjusted his posture in mid-air, clapped his hands, and entered Sage mode. Senjutsu, Bright God Gate. A large number of red torii fell from the sky and blocked the restless Jubi. Sure enough, it's still not complete. Seeing Jubi so easily bound by Hashirama, Madara thought. Madara, what are you looking at? Hashirama roared and confronted Madara. While the two were fighting, Tobirama used Hashirama as a coordinate and jumped near the two with Flying Thunder God Jutsu, taking the opportunity to recapture Naruto. Although Madara noticed Tobirama's action, Kyubi had been pulled away, and Hashirama was beautiful, so he let Tobirama recapture Naruto. On the other side, Minato grabbed AI and teleported to Bordered Soil's side, catching Bordered Soil off guard. Why can you use Flying Thunder God Jutsu on me? Bordered Soil said and suddenly realized, was it when I was a child? Did you leave a jutsu on me? Looking at Bordered Soil, who was different from his memory, Minato was sad. Yes, the mark of Flying Thunder God Jutsu will not disappear. AI Chung resisted the urge to punch Obito's head and took advantage of the gap between the two of them to take back Killer Bee from the Jubi. Seeing that Minato's action was successful, Tobirama left his brother, teleported to Minato's side, and took Raikage away from the battlefield. As soon as he landed, AI shouted, "Naruto, come and treat them." In fact, he didn't need to remind him. Tsunade's mind has been worried about Naruto. Seeing Naruto and Killer Bee were taken back, she rushed between the two and treated them at the same time. But even with her medical ninjutsu, she could only slightly slow down the extinguishing of the two's fire of life. Damn it, if this continues, they will die, Tsunade said to herself anxiously. With a serious face, Hiruzen asked loudly, "Minato, can you extract that part of chakra from your body?" Minato understood what Sandame meant. He still had half of Kyuubi sealed in his body. If he can transfer this half of Kyuubi into Naruto's body, Naruto shouldn't die. Thinking of this, Minato hurriedly replied, "Sure, I'll be right back." However, the corners of Bordered Soil's mouth rose slightly. "Minato-sensei, it's rare for us master and disciple to meet. Isn't it too cold to want to leave so soon?" As soon as he finished speaking, the black rods floating around them in a nano-state suddenly grew in size. Even with Minato's reaction speed, he was still pierced by the remaining black rods after dodging a few of them. "I can't condense chakra anymore." Sensing the situation in his body, Minato's expression changed. For the Edo Tensei, the damage caused by the black rods itself was nothing, but the additional effect was fatal. Bordered Soil grabbed the black rods and held Minato in his hand. "Very good, the last piece of the puzzle is about to be completed. There's no other way." Seeing this, Tsunade hurriedly looked at Naidame Naruto. "Second grandpa, please send me and them to the third battlefield." The third battlefield. Tobirama instantly understood what she meant. "Are you going to ask for help?" Tsunade nodded. "Except for him, I can't think of anyone else who can save them." Tobirama took a deep breath and glanced at everyone. "Before we come back, please try to stop the enemy." After that, he took Tsunade, Naruto, and Killer Bee and left. On the side, Sasuke's face was gloomy. "Naruto can only be defeated by me. Can't you bugs just hide in the sewer?" Susanoo. After transplanting Itachi's eyes, he can already use the third stage, the full body armor, second only to the complete Susanoo. A 100-meter tall giant suddenly appeared on the battlefield, and even Madara was attracted. "He's Uchiha Sasuke, the last member of the Uchiha clan?" These eyes are really similar to Izuna's. It makes me feel like I'm dreaming of the Sengoku period. Seeing Madara's face showing a look of nostalgia, Hashirama took the opportunity to persuade him. "Madara, don't make mistakes again." "Wrong?" Madara sneered. "I have mastered the absolute truth. Even if there is a mistake, it's the world that's wrong, not me." With that, Madara's body suddenly erupted with a powerful repulsive force, and Hashirama flew out. Damn, that Uchiha boy. Hashirama was worried that Madara and Bordered Soil would besiege Sasuke. Then he saw Madara jump into the air, transformed into the complete Susanoo, and slashed at him with Itachi. "Hashirama, let's continue the battle in the Valley of the End." It turns out that the top of the golem's head is too small for the battlefield, and it's not interesting enough to fight? Hashirama smiled twice, and his face was solemn. "But, this is also what I want." Senjutsu would release True Thousand Hands. On the other side, Sasuke controlled the giant to shoot an arrow at Bordered Soil. Gekido, made of Yuki's body, stood in front of Bordered Soil, opened its arms, and absorbed the chakra arrow. Han combined the strange power of Shirato and the explosion of boil release, jumped up and hit Susanoo's armor, making the giant retreat a few steps. But while Susanoo was retreating, Han's body suddenly ignited with black flames. Even in this case, he can still use Amaterasu to fight back. Uchiha Sasuke deserves to be called Uchiha Sasuke. Rashi exclaimed in amazement of Bordered Soil, and he opened his mouth and spat out hundreds of magma balls. Lava release, scorching river rock technique. Sasuke was about to dodge, but he found that his body was paralyzed, and he couldn't move. A small figure flew over his head, and countless scales scattered. It was the paralysis powder of Nanabai's Jinchuriki. Not only that, Rokubi's Jinchuriki also took the opportunity to spit out a wave of strong corrosive liquid. The magma balls and acid sprayed on the giant's body, melting the chakra armor around the giant's body. Then, Yondaime Mizukage used the water mirror technique to summon the weakened Susanoo clone. Damn, although these Jinchuriki's strength is much weaker than when they were alive, they are more difficult to deal with than before. Sasuke frowned and looked at Bordered Soil, who was in the middle of 6 people, trying to peel off Kyubi. We must interfere with him, or pull out the black stick on Yondaime's body. Seeing Sasuke in trouble, everyone wanted to help, but they didn't have time to seal the 4 Kages. Compared to before, they had Raikage on their side, but they lost Naruto, Sasuke, Killer Bee, and Minato. Under such circumstances, it would be difficult to maintain the current situation, let alone diverting combat power to deal with Obito. For a while, everyone could only hope that the reinforcements would come as soon as possible. Chapter 555. The Third Battlefield, in the Temporary Clinic. Sakura examined White Zetsu with a serious face, and Kakashi asked, "How is it? Can you identify them at the root level? Can you crack their transformation technique?" "No, maybe it's because my level is limited." Sakura shook her head slightly. However, when I examined them, I found something strange. They seem to have genes similar to humans. Kakashi was surprised. "You mean, their ancestors, or the source, may also be human?" At this time, White Zetsu, who was being studied, made a dissatisfied sound. "Hey, you are too rude. What do you mean by maybe human? We are originally advanced new human beings. We have intelligence and emotions above you, except that we can't poop. By the way, can you tell me what it feels like to poop? I have observed your human poop. It starts with irritation and pain, then comfort and pleasure, and finally emptiness and boredom." "Aya, you're so annoying," Xiaoying said angrily. "Can you shut up, you bastard? Is this something a lady should discuss?" White Zetsu shouted with an exaggerated expression, "Don't you know how to poop? Did I accidentally poke your sore spot? Actually, you don't have to be sad. Not having to poop is the advanced part of our new human beings. We can digest poop in our body." Sakura finally couldn't help it and screamed wildly, "Ah! Who said I can't poop?" Then, Tsunade and Tobirama, who suddenly appeared beside the 3 of them, were stunned. Are young people now so bold? How can they talk about this kind of thing? At this time, Sakura also noticed the arrival of Tsunade-sensei and Nidaime. Her face was as red as a monkey's, but, "Tsunade-sensei, actually Before she finished speaking, Kakashi walked over nervously. "Naruto, Sama, Nidaime-sama, Naruto and Killer Bee are here?" Tsunade's expression was dignified. They were stripped of their tailed beasts by Madara and Bordered Soil. Sakura noticed that Naruto's eyes were closed, and his breath was constantly weakening. She didn't care about the shame in her heart, stripped of their tailed beasts. Then Naruto, I understand, Tsunade-sensei. Are you here to ask for help from sensei?" Tsunade nodded, "Yes." "Then let's hurry over," Xiaoying said as she suddenly retreated and walked in front of Baiju. Seeing Xiaoying's raised fist, Baiju shouted, "Can you use a gentler method? There's no time." Under Xiaoying's lead, the 6 of them quickly arrived in front of a temporary tent. Shui Mu was waiting outside. When he saw them arrive, he narrowed his eyes. "It seems that your progress is not very smooth." Xiaoying nodded. "Senior Shui Mu, please inform them." Before she could finish, a voice came from the tent. "Come in." Seeing the 6 of them enter, even Garashi was a little surprised. Have they been stripped of their tailed beasts? He could control the overall situation from behind the scenes, but he couldn't fully grasp the details of the changes in the tributaries. No one was surprised that Garashi could see through their condition at a glance. They only asked nervously, can they still be saved? Garashi said concisely, there's hope. That's great. They heaved a sigh of relief. Especially Nidame and Tsunade. After all, Naruto and the others were in danger because of their miscalculation. Xiaoying was still a little worried. Chio saved Gaara at the cost of her life. Senior brother, what's the price you have to pay to save Naruto and the others? Of course, there is a price. Garashi nodded. They should be weak for half a day. Even if Chio can do it, he can naturally do it. Hearing the first half of the sentence, everyone who had their hearts in their throats finally relaxed. 2 doomed people were pulled back from the gates of hell, and they only need to be weak for a while. He's like a god. Tobirama sighed in his heart. If his big brother was the god of ninja, then this one could completely remove the first 3 words. Garashi treated the 2 and asked, what's the situation on the battlefield? Tobirama's mind returned to reality, and his voice was heavy. It's very troublesome. When we left, Madara had already summoned the Jubi, and the Kyubi was also in their hands. What? The situation has deteriorated to this point? Kakashi's face changed greatly. Tsunade nodded with a solemn expression. I'll leave it to you here. Nidame and I have to rush back to the battlefield as soon as possible. I'll go too. Kakashi said. My Sharingan and bordered soil have the same root, maybe I can help. And me? Xiaoying hurriedly raised her hand. My medical ninjutsu should also play a role. At this critical moment, Tsunade naturally wouldn't hesitate. Okay, you come with me. At this time, Garashi suddenly said, Mizuki, you go and help. Although she was happy to have Mizuki's help, Tsunade still restrained herself. Aren't you going to be weak? Mizuki should stay and protect you. Garashi shook his head slightly. Don't worry. Mizuki knew that Garashi was only here with his clone. Since Garashi said so, it meant that he made a decision. Therefore, he calmly walked to Tsunade's side. The leader doesn't need anyone to protect him. I just want to ensure that the leader is not disturbed. As for strength, even if the leader is 100 times weaker, he is still stronger than me. Several people were shocked. Garashi in a weakened state was 100 times stronger than Mizuki? Although they now knew Mizuki's habit of bragging every day, even if it was a little exaggerated, it should be 10 times stronger, right? Unfortunately, Garashi's only record so far was killing Pain with 1 blow, so they could only guess his strength. Garashi didn't comment and looked at Mizuki. At the critical moment, you can call my name in your heart. Mizuki's eyes lit up. He and Wuwei were both taught by Garashi how to pray to the gods in the early days. Xiaoying was a little puzzled. What's the use of this? Garashi explained with a smile, I can descend my will on Mizuki, control his body to fight, and even lend power remotely. In a sense, it was the god's summoning technique. That's amazing. Xiaoying was envious. Can we call in our hearts? Of course not, your thoughts are too impure. Garashi complained in his heart. He didn't want to receive the prayers of a love-struck brain every day. Without needing him to explain, Mizuki proudly explained, do you think anyone can rely on prayer to get power? Chakra is the power that connects hearts. Only the purest heart and unreserved trust in the leader can achieve a bridge across the void. Chapter 556. Wow, you're amazing. Xiaoying clapped her hands in confusion. The power to connect the heart to heart? Rumor has it that the ancestors in ancient times used chakra in this way. Tobirama sighed in his heart. Tsunade urged, now that it's decided, let's go. Well, there's no time to waste. Tobirama wrapped chakra around several people, launched the flying thunder god jutsu, and disappeared from Garashi's eyes the next moment. The deliverance hasn't been completed yet, the time of the decisive battle has to be delayed a little bit. Looking at the place where several people disappeared, Garashi thought. On the battlefield. After a battle, the complete Susanoo was held in the palm of the Buddha statue. Impossible, I don't believe it. I awakened Rinnegan, how could I lose? Hashirama stood on the top of the Buddha statue. Although you awakened Rinnegan, you also lost the power of the Kyuubi compared to the Battle of the Valley of the End. Madara was silent for a moment and calmed down. Sure enough, losing to you is the most unacceptable thing for me. Unfortunately, the power of Rinnegan can only be fully exerted when I'm alive. If I can be resurrected perfectly, the ending will be completely different. Anyway, you should stay here obediently for now. Senjutsu, Bright God Gate. Hashirama sucked Madara's chakra away with Mokuton, let him out of the Susanoo state, and then locked Madara on the ground like a guillotine. On the other side, Sasuke also went through a serious consideration and finally chose to give up thinking. Damn, if only I had awakened the ability of time and space. In this case, he really couldn't save Minato. Seeing Madara defeated, Bordered Soil frowned. As expected of the god of ninja, even Madara who awakened Rinnegan was defeated by him. However, I can't let Madara be sealed by them. I need to use Madara's control of his Rinnegan and the person who exchanged eyes with me to restrain each other. Thinking of this, Bordered Soil took a deep breath. I can only start the plan ahead of schedule. 6 paths, Jubi seal. Bordered Soil's body was like a whirlpool, absorbing the Jubi that had transformed into Jubi into his body. Then, the ground shook violently as lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. It was as if the entire world was trembling uneasily. The Bordered Soil's body also underwent a huge change. His skin became pale white and his epidermis turned into horny scales, as if he was wearing a scale armor. The sight of such a huge ghetto golem being sucked into the Bordered Soil naturally attracted everyone's attention. This was especially true for the Bordered Soil. Its appearance was completely different from that of a human. What's wrong with that guy? Do you have albinism? Strange, I've never heard of a Jinchuriki turning into such a strange shape. Is this guy still human? Everyone was very surprised and discussed loudly. Is this the power of God? It's so intoxicating. The Bordered Soil was closing his eyes to experience this power when he suddenly let out a scream. The right side of Zetsu's body was twisted and bloated, constantly changing shape. One moment it was like a swollen tumor, the next it was like a wriggling maggot. In short, it was as disgusting as it could be. These changes caused goosebumps to appear on everyone's skin. It's disgusting, is he completely not human? Ordinary people's Jinchuriki will go berserk because they can't suppress the Biju's consciousness. As the Jubi's Jinchuriki, the pressure he bears is at least 100 times that of ordinary Jinchuriki. Take this opportunity to kill him. Madara, who was suppressed under the Tori, narrowed his eyes. The power of the 6 paths Sennin is the power of balance. That half of the body is stabilized with the help of Hashirama's cells. Once it enters the 6 paths mode, any imbalance in the body will be infinitely magnified, and the body that doesn't belong to itself will become the breakthrough point of collapse. In this way, the Jubi itself is an unstable factor. Before the consciousness of the 9 Biju completely disappears, once someone triggers their consciousness, the barely achieved balance will collapse again. Sure enough, the idea of letting him demonstrate to me was correct. The next step is to awaken his will. Imprisonment spell charm illusion. Suddenly, the Bordered Soil's heart beat hard. In a trance, he seemed to see Rin's figure, heard Rin's encouragement to him, and imagined Rin's promise to him. In the Genjutsu, Madara looked at the Bordered Soil who was kissing him and almost couldn't help but beat the Bordered Soil. Isn't he building a healing illusion? Where did this evil beast go? Outside, the Bordered Soil, who had swollen into a meatball, roared. The next moment, his twisted and collapsed body was reassembled, and the terrifying momentum broke out, and the ninjas around him were blown out. The bloated leaked power returned to the body, and the Bordered Soil opened his eyes again. It's all over. He suppressed the Jubi's consciousness with his own will. No matter what his position is, he is a powerful ninja. Hashirama praised. I really underestimated him. His will is as tough as steel. Gaara took a deep breath. As a former Ichibi's Jinchuriki, he knew how difficult it was to suppress these tailed beasts, not to mention the aggregation of all the tailed beasts. Madara's mouth twitched. In a sense, the will of the bordered soil was indeed tough, but it may be a little different from what they understood. Although I barely suppressed the Jubi's consciousness with Rin's power, it's hard to say when it will lose control again. We have to end this quickly. The bordered soil touched his lower abdomen with his left hand and waved the sage staff with his right hand, and the black spheres floating behind him flew toward the coalition. Although these black spheres looked ordinary and did not exude any terrible power, Hashirama reacted immediately. Be careful, everyone, try to stay away from this thing. Very smart, but in the face of absolute power, this little bit of cleverness is of no use. The bordered soil said calmly, letting the power of the truth-seeking ball break out. The surface of the truth-seeking ball bloomed with a layer of black light, like a black hole that swallowed everything, and any matter touched by this black light instantly disappeared. The black light spread extremely fast, and Hashirama had no time to think about it. He clapped his hands. Mokuton, world of trees descends. An endless sea of trees emerged from the earth in an instant, wrapping the black spheres. But before everyone could rejoice, they saw the sea of trees as tough as iron torn and swallowed like white paper. What level of power is this? Hashirama was shocked. It was the first time he encountered an ability that even his Mokuton couldn't resist at all. Fortunately, at the critical moment, Tobarama came back with Tsunade and the others, and flew forward at the fastest speed and moved the truth-seeking ball to a distance. In the next moment, a tall mountain in the distance was silently erased, like an eraser modifying a picture. There was not the slightest movement. Chapter 557. Seeing that the attack was transferred, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. What are those black spheres? Why do I feel that the power contained in them is more terrible than dust release? I wonder what will happen if dust release collides with those black spheres? Tobarama teleported back, and his entire left hand disappeared. However, everyone knew that Edo Tensei could be reborn infinitely, so they didn't pay attention to his injuries. Reikage asked anxiously, Nidame Naruto, how is it? Tobarama replied, that Sama said that he can save me. That's good. Reikage was relieved. Bordered soil didn't chase after them, but looked at Kakashi. Kakashi, this world that was caused by your incompetence will finally come to an end. Looking at the changed form of bordered soil, Kakashi couldn't believe it. Bordered soil, how did you become like this? Bordered soil smiled contemptuously, what's wrong? Do you feel ashamed under the majesty of God? God? Yes, God. Bordered soil chanted, Rikudo Sennin created the world with this power, and I will use this power to reshape the world. Don't struggle, don't resist, accept your fate. Before he finished speaking, Sasuke controlled the giant to shoot an arrow. Trash talk too much. The black ball suspended behind Obito flew to the front and spread out into a soft membrane. The huge arrow, which seemed to contain a vast amount of power, melted like snow under the sun when it came into contact with the soft membrane. So irritable. But, it's fine, there's really nothing in this world worth my nostalgia. Bordered soil waved his sage staff, and 6 of the 9 truth-seeking balls behind him flew out. Fall completely, I will recreate all of this in the dream. Gaara quickly commanded, scatter formation B, retreat 300 meters and use long-range ninjutsu to counterattack. Yes. Everyone quickly retreated. When they retreated to a certain distance, the black sphere no longer chased after them. Instead, it directly released its power in the sky. Everyone in the coalition army looked at the edge of the black light in horror, but Tobarama noticed it. The attack I transferred before was the same. When I was still a certain distance away from the crowd, I released the power. Could it be that this seemingly limitless attack only has a range of less than 100 meters? At this time, the bordered soil also noticed that although the truth-seeking jade was extremely powerful, its excessive power made it difficult to control. If it was more than 70 meters away from him, he could not control the truth-seeking jade well. At the same time, tens of thousands of people used their best ninjutsu at the same time. Like a torrent of ninjutsu, they rushed towards the bordered soil. However, Obito just expanded the soft black membrane into a sphere to cover himself and did not care about it anymore. The bordered soil and the sphere frowned. It can only be used as a defensive and close combat weapon? Looks like I need to stretch my limbs a little. It just so happens that I also want to know how strong my current body is. Outside, after the torrent of ninjutsu, the black sphere stood still like a stone. This discovery sent chills down everyone's spines. It's not that they haven't seen the ability to absorb ninjutsu, but no matter how much chakra can be absorbed, there should be a limit. The black sphere that resisted tens of thousands of ninjutsu without any change is really scary. Even the defensive ability is so strong? Tobirama said to himself. Just as he was about to remind everyone to pay attention to the attack range of the black sphere, he found that the black sphere suddenly disappeared. In the next moment, the bordered soil appeared in front of him almost instantaneously and waved his staff. So fast. Tobirama's pupils suddenly shrank, and he subconsciously used the Flying Thunder God Jutsu to dodge. Obito did not give up and followed closely behind him like a maggot attached to a bone. While dodging, Tobirama thought to himself, choosing me as the first target, do you think my Flying Thunder God Jutsu is too much of a hindrance? But I am the Edo Tensei, ordinary attacks are meaningless, you must seal me. Seeing that Tobirama was being chased, Hashirama instinctively rushed up. Mokuton, Wood Dragon Jutsu. Just in time. The bordered soil decisively abandoned Tobirama and waved his staff towards Hashirama. At this time, Tobirama finally noticed the point that he ignored before. Something's wrong, why hasn't my left hand recovered yet? It's reasonable to say that even if the whole body is destroyed, it should be almost restored. Is it possible that the part destroyed by the black sphere can't be restored even by the Edo Tensei? Tobirama was shocked, that is to say, his target is actually the only one who can defeat him? Just like before, the powerful Wood Dragon Jutsu had no resistance in front of the black sphere. Just at the moment when the black sphere was about to touch Hashirama, Tobirama suddenly teleported and pushed Hashirama away with his right hand. Then, his right hand was instantly destroyed. Tobirama, what are you doing? Hashirama was a little confused. Be careful, the part destroyed by the black sphere can't be restored even by the Edo Tensei. Tobirama warned. What? The people who heard this sound couldn't believe it, even the Edo Tensei can't restore it? Oh, you finally found it? Obito laughed. The truth-seeking ball is an ultimate ability that combines the power of yin, yang, and the 5 elements. It can resist all attacks and break all boundaries. Even if it's the Edo Tensei, there won't be a second chance. Hearing this, everyone's heart sank. No wonder the previous attack of tens of thousands of ninjutsu didn't have any effect on bordered soil. Their attacks are ineffective against the enemy, and their defense is also ineffective against the enemy. How can they fight? Do you understand now? This is the boundary between God and human. Bordered soil laughed loudly and suddenly heard a sound behind him. He subconsciously opened the truth-seeking ball, still struggling. I said it's useless, puff. Hundreds of hard logs penetrated the truth-seeking ball and nailed the laughing bordered soil directly to the ground. This sudden turn of events caused everyone's brains to be unable to wrap their heads around it. Didn't they say that this was the power of God? How come it was defeated so quickly? Moreover, they had already tested it before, and the ninjutsu of tens of thousands of people didn't have any effect. Everyone looked in the direction of the attack and saw Mizuki with purple eye lines outlined in the corner of his eyes. Sure enough, you said before that the truth-seeking ball is the power of yin and yang and the 5 elements, right? The power outside this system can't be completely defended. Yes, Senjutsu. Hashirama clapped his hands, no wonder he planned to deal with me first. Madara, who was pressed down by Tori, couldn't help but say, why did this idiot expose his information? Did he get carried away? An incomparably powerful aura suddenly erupted from Obito's body, and the wooden stick stuck in his body was bounced away, and he stood up and shouted angrily, even if you can see through this, what can you do? Only a few of you can use senjutsu, you can't win against me. Chapter 558. Bordered soil clamored. The wounds on his body healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the blink of an eye, he went from a sieve full of holes to a freak full of patches. Seeing this, many people were worried. The enemy's self-healing ability was so strong. If they wanted to defeat him, it meant that they had to deal more damage than his self-healing speed. However, they didn't know any immortal techniques. Could they really rely on the first generation and that lord? Obito regained his composure and said slowly, "Senjutsu is not my ability to restrain me, but to turn an invalid attack into an effective attack. In this case, it is impossible for the two of you to defeat me." That makes sense. That's why I've decided to ask for help. Shui Mu said confidently. Ask for help? Bordered Soil was stunned. Then, he saw Shui Mu form a hand seal. Suddenly, a godlike, holy figure appeared behind him. Everyone looked at this scene, dumbfounded. What is this? Why do I have the urge to prostrate myself in worship when I look at this light? Just one look and I feel like my soul has been cleansed. Not just them, even Bordered Soil, who considered himself an immortal, felt like his brain wasn't enough to process this. From what he knew, only Corpse Ghost Feng Jin's Grim Reaper's figure was similar to this. However, Corpse Ghost Feng Jin's Grim Reaper definitely couldn't give him this kind of feeling. Is this the power of a god? Garashi sighed. There was no need to mention the immortal mode. He had also used the demon physique many times. However, this was the first time he had truly used the power of a god. Now, it seemed that the effect was quite good. He hadn't even used his ability. Just the aura he naturally exuded was enough to affect them. Those who were friendly to him would revere and worship him from the bottom of their hearts, while those who were hostile to him would fear him. Fortunately, Bordered Soil had advanced to the Six Paths Constitution. Otherwise, someone like him, who had a flaw in his soul, would go crazy with just a single mental attack. Bordered Soil frowned. This is your method? Ridiculous. Garashi ignored him and controlled Shui Mu's body to come in front of Yugo. Yugo, lend me your body. Although this request was somewhat impolite, Zhongwu agreed without any hesitation as he was bathed in the light of the gods. Yes. Garashi placed Shui Mu's right hand on Yugo's forehead and dispersed the power of nature from his body. This was one of the results of Aizen's research on Yugo. Green specks of light flew out of Zhongwu's body and fell down like raindrops. Everyone who was hit by the raindrops shuddered as an indescribable power entered their bodies. This seal can allow everyone to obtain the power of an immortal technique for a short period of time. Now, you can also participate in the battle. Garashi said loudly. Curse seal. Sasuke subconsciously touched the back of his neck, and the curse seal power that was originally removed by his brother returned. No, it should be more powerful. This Shui Mu is actually... No, this is Garashi-sama's aura. Sasuke couldn't help but be shocked. Orochimaru spent more than 10 years to develop the curse seal of heaven and earth, but Garashi-sama just casually looked at it and developed a new curse seal. Moreover, the curse seal of heaven and earth placed a great burden on the body. Only Kimimaro could bear the curse seal of earth, and only he and Enko could bear the curse seal of heaven. But what about the curse seal developed by Garashi-sama? Not only was the power contained in it stronger, but there was almost no requirement to bear it. Sure enough, compared to Uchiha Obito, that idiot with nothing but power, Sushi-sama is more like a god. Hearing Garashi's words, everyone in the alliance was excited to test their new power. Even Tobirama was no exception, and after a little test, he sighed. Is this the power you have, brother? It's really powerful. The real powerful person is the leader of this parallel world. Hashirama couldn't help but exclaim, he can give everyone the power of Senjutsu, it's unheard of. This bastard actually. Bordered Soil could hardly believe his eyes, this is senjutsu. Damn it, then I'll kill you first. Bordered Soil's figure flashed, and he appeared in front of Shui Mu in a flash and swept his staff down. Bordered Soil's speed was indeed fast, and after advancing to the six-path mode, he had already surpassed the limit of human beings. If it was Garashi's body or clone here, then naturally, there was no need to worry. But Shui Mu's body was indeed weak, and even if his mind could catch up, it was difficult to control his body to react in time. Fortunately, he had the shadow of God behind him that could disturb the mind of the enemy close to him. Bordered Soil was about to smash the enemy's head with his staff, but suddenly a flash of lightning crossed his mind. No, this guy looks calm, there must be a trap waiting for me. Thinking of this, Bordered Soil hurriedly retreated. After leaving the circle, Bordered Soil's smart IQ took the high ground again. That's not right, what calm expression, it's obvious that he didn't react in time, right? Damn it, I was actually fooled by him. Bordered Soil moved forward again, and when he was about to wave his staff, he suddenly froze, and the staff stopped in midair. Wait, what was I going to do? Garashi greeted, "Hi, how are you?" Bordered Soil responded shyly, "Hi, hello, do you know why I'm here?" Garashi talked nonsense with a straight face, "You're lost and you're asking me for directions. You should go straight to the back now." Bordered Soil suddenly understood and hurriedly thanked him, "Thank you, you're really a good person." When Bordered Soil turned and left, Garashi immediately ordered, "Concentrate fire on him." The coalition forces were watching their performance with a stunned face. When they heard Garashi's voice, they quickly combined the power of curses with ninjutsu. Immortal Method, Great Fireball Technique. Immortal Method, Water Dragon Bullet Technique. Immortal Method. After a few steps, Bordered Soil finally reacted, "No, I'm obviously going to kill him." Then, immortal techniques from all directions drowned him. Seeing poor Bordered Soil being played by Garashi, Madara was shocked. "There's something strange about that person, I must not get close to him." Ah. In the dust, Bordered Soil's angry roar came, "All of you are going to die." When the voice fell, a towering tree grew wildly from the aftermath of the energy, and the roots like pillars of a mountain plunged into the ground. The people who were waiting excitedly for the result were shocked by the sudden change. What kind of monster is this? It looks like the Jubi, but not exactly. Indeed, the Jubi is more like a human, and the monster in front of us is a big tree. This is the sacred tree? Garashi was a little surprised. Even for him, it was the first time he saw the full appearance of the sacred tree. Chapter 559. After the god tree was summoned, the huge roots that originally remained in the ninja world and spread all over the earth quickly responded to it. The chakra in the earth was swallowed by the roots and continuously sent power to the god tree. Not only that, many roots that were rooted in the surface broke out of the earth, like octopus tentacles, flexibly grabbing the crowd. In this first wave of attack, more than 1/5 of the coalition forces were caught by the roots and began to absorb the chakra. Ah! My chakra was sucked away. Damn it, is the end of being sucked to death by this monster? I'm not willing. In these angry and desperate voices, the god tree's action of absorbing the chakra suddenly stopped and threw the coalition forces that were bound by the roots away, and also shook its hand to show its disgust. Just like in the original manga, when Gakido absorbed Naruto's senjutsu chakra, there was an adverse reaction. However, the size of the god tree is much stronger than that of Gakido. Even if it suddenly absorbed so much chakra, it only made it feel a little uncomfortable and nauseous. Garashi secretly thought. Regarding this discovery, he was not surprised. If the god tree could directly absorb natural energy, Otsutsuki wouldn't have to spend so much effort to spread chakra, and they wouldn't be unable to learn senjutsu. However, the ability of the god tree to devour everything is really terrifying. If it doesn't bear fruit in the end, but absorbs the chakra for its own use, it will be a disaster more terrible than Otsutsuki. In Garashi's view, the relationship between Otsutsuki and the god tree is a bit similar to the relationship between humans and robots in the sci-fi future of his previous life. The God Tree is the most convenient tool in the hands of Otsutsuki. Just like a robot, Otsutsuki controls them through the Rinnegan. But if one day, a certain God Tree breaks away from the restrictions of the Rinnegan, even the God Tree can't absorb the chakra in their bodies? Bordered Soil frowned slightly, but soon relaxed. It doesn't matter, as long as the chakra scattered in all corners of the world can be recovered, their chakra is not worth mentioning at all. The Allied army also calmed down from their initial panic. Wave after wave of immortal spells were hurled at the Bordered Soil and the Divine Tree. However, when their attacks landed on the Divine Tree, they didn't even leave a single burn mark. Not only that, the blossoming flower of the Divine Tree continued to gather energy, and a super large Bijadama shot towards the Allied army. The more sensitive a ninja is, the more they can perceive the terrifying energy contained in this Bijadama. What the hell? This kind of energy level attack. Tobirama cursed in a low voice. He quickly moved the huge Bijadama to the surface of the sea, but even so, the aftershock from the sea still blew many people away. Bordered Soil sneered as he dodged the attacks. Don't even think about it. It's impossible for you to stop the Divine Tree with your strength. Stopping you is the same. As the commander of the coalition forces, Rakage shouted, "Concentrate your firepower and kill him." Immortal technique, would escape, true thousand hands. Curse seal, flame escape, earth life. Hashirama's thousand-hand Buddha and Sasuke Susanoo acted as the frontline attack, chasing after Bordered Soil like swatting flies. Curse seal, 5 release, great bullet technique. Curse seal, water release, hard whirlpool water blade. Curse seal, lightning release, lightning abuse level. A group of Kage tier ninjas acted as the support, attacking from the side, chasing after Bordered Soil. Before the attack of Senjutsu Chakra, the deterrence of Truth-Seeking Ball was greatly reduced, and Bordered Soil couldn't ignore their attacks. Humph. I actually let you guys find some opportunity, but I won't give you any more hope. As Obito said these words, a strange long sword appeared in his hand. It looked like a spiral, and it looked like it was made of DNA. This sword is the sword of the heart that the immortal of the 6 paths used to create this world, Heavenly Swamp Spear. And I will use it to destroy this world. With that, Obito swung the Heavenly Swamp Spear at the Buddha statue. Although the sword of DNA seemed a little uncoordinated, its power was unparalleled. A single sword strike had destroyed more than half of the Buddha statue's body. Not only did it cut off this part of the Buddha, but it also cut off its life force. Hashirama's expression was solemn. His wood release had a strong life force, not to mention the power of Senjutsu. Logically speaking, even if it was cut off, it should be able to recover quickly, but that wasn't the case. Hashirama controlled half of the Buddha to dodge the attack, and muttered in his heart, as expected of the world created by Rikudo Sennin. Sasuke drew his bow and shot a huge arrow with black flames and curses at Bordered Soil. However, Bordered Soil only casually swung the Sky Swamp Spear, and the arrow was cut into nothingness. Not only that, but the other Kages also fled under the might of the sword. After using the Sky Swamp Spear to temporarily turn the situation around, Bordered Soil couldn't help but speak again. This sword represents the emptiness in my heart. Now, you should be able to understand a little of my pain, right? It is indeed very strong, the soul sword. Garashi watched from a distance. In the original trajectory, it was Naruto's mouth that made his heart waver, shaking his determination to destroy the world, which made the Sky Swamp Spear shatter on its own. Although I can't do it to Naruto's level, it's not only the mouth that can shake the heart. Thinking of this, Garashi controlled Mizuki's body to sneak up. However, just as he started to move, Bordered Soil turned around with a ferocious expression. You think I will ignore your existence? Humph, don't even think about getting close to me. So cautious. This won't be easy. Garashi stopped and asked with a smile, by the way, you said you are a god, right? Of course I am a god. Bordered Soil said without hesitation. Then it's easy. Garashi smiled, let me help you experience the hardships of a god in advance. Ah, what did you say? Bordered Soil was confused. Suddenly, countless consciousnesses poured into his mind. God, please give me 10, no, please give me 100 wives. God, please let the war end. Damn God, did you hear that? F*CKU, F*CKU, F*CKU. F*CK God, it was as if there were 100 million mosquitoes buzzing in his ears. Obito frantically grabbed his hair, and even broke the horns on his forehead. Seeing Bordered Soil's miserable state, Garashi also felt distressed. TSK, you need to be careful. People's prayers to God were equivalent to dialing a number. In the past, God's account was an empty number, so naturally, there would be no response. Bordered Soil's identity as a god was equivalent to turning an empty number into a real number. The reason why it was not affected before was that it lacked a network cable. And his role now was to act as the network cable, connecting the data to Bordered Soil's account. Chapter 560. The Alliance Army's eyes widened, and some of them couldn't understand. That person only said a few words, and he made Obito, who was almost a god, go crazy. How did he do it? In addition to worship and awe, they couldn't help but feel a sense of fear. Even Madara's heart was full of fear. Fortunately, I didn't do it in advance, otherwise, I might be the one who went crazy now. Ah! Die! Die! Obito vented his anger as he grabbed the heavenly swamp spear and slashed at his surroundings. Because there was no pattern to his moves, everyone around him tried to stay away from him. At this time, in Bordered Soil's chaotic mind, Rin's voice suddenly sounded. Bordered Soil, Bordered Soil. Hearing Rin's voice, Bordered Soil's eyes were bloodshot, as if he hadn't slept for 10 days and 10 nights. He roared, "Ha! Don't think you can beat me like this." Seeing Bordered Soil break free from his madness after suppressing the Jubi's consciousness, everyone was shocked. What a strong belief. He's worthy of being the one behind the scenes who led the current situation. This is a man who has carried out his own ninja path. Hashirama couldn't help but sigh, I just don't know what his ninja path is. Suigetsu smiled, his ninja path seems to be love. Hashirama nodded again and again, sure enough, he also loves this world deeply. Yugo scratched his head in confusion, is the first Naruto's understanding of love the same as Suigetsu's? It's not over yet. Bordered Soil roared, and suddenly he spat out a big mouthful of blood. He looked down in disbelief at the palm that penetrated his chest, and then turned his head stiffly, Black Zetsu. Why? Didn't they say one world, one dream? Because the preparation work hasn't been completed yet. Black Zetsu sighed in his heart, but his mouth was smiling, sorry, Madara-sama is the one who will become a god. Bordered Soil still couldn't understand, it's the infinite Tsukuyomi, does it matter who uses it? Of course there is a difference. What Madara-sama wants to create is an ideal world without war and absolute peace. If you carry it out, it may become a world of love where even the sun in the sky is Rin. Black Zetsu said and turned into a pool of black mud attached to Bordered Soil. Now, it's time for you to repay Madara-sama. Everyone in the alliance was shocked by this sudden turn of events and collectively fell into a state of paralysis. Obito, who suppressed the Jubi and fought against the mad demon, was finally killed by his own people. Without waiting for them to react, a blazing white pillar of light suddenly, Madara. Reincarnation of the heavenly reincarnation. After the resurrection, Madara did not hesitate at all. He took back his power from Obito at the fastest speed and completed the transformation. Boom! An incomparably powerful power erupted from Madara's body, shocking the world. Is this the power of the six paths? Madara closed his eyes and sighed. He still underestimated the power of the Jubi's Jinchuriki. If it weren't for the fact that Bordered Soil's mind was severely damaged, even if he had the talisman to control the Bordered Soil's heart, he might not be able to retrieve this power. Speaking of which, I really want to thank you. Madara looked at the coalition forces, especially Mizuki, who had Garashi's shadow behind him. These people could defeat bordered soil, who was transformed into a god, which was something he didn't expect before. Hashirama strode out and shouted with a straight face. Madara, sure enough, you're behind this. Madara took off bordered soil's eyes and put them in his eye sockets. Of course, it's me. Who else has this kind of ability besides me? Are you proud of scheming against your own people? Hashirama sneered, it's because you look down on others and regard your companions and people as tools that no one was willing to leave with you. Enough. Madara was poked in the wound, and he lost his composure. Everyone will die, and all the good things will eventually become memories. The more feelings you put in, the more pain you will eventually reap. It's better to cut off the fetters from the beginning, Reikage said coldly. Hurry up, I'm not here to listen to your heart. Madara's mouth twitched slightly. What does he mean by heart? Does this illiterate man know how to talk? Let's call it a day. Before figuring out why bordered soil suddenly went crazy and finding a solution, he didn't intend to fight with that man for the time being. Of course, if he said this, it would make him seem timid, so he definitely couldn't say it out loud. Therefore, Madara said in a flat tone. You fought with bordered soil, and I won't take advantage of you. I'll give you a chance to take a break, and let you see the world for the last time. You're so kind. Hashirama looked incredulous. Are you afraid of what happened to bordered soil, and you're going to go back and find a solution secretly? What a joke. Does bordered soils will deserve to be compared with mine? Madara snorted. Enjoy the last 3 days. After that, he reabsorbed the tree back into his body, and then he launched Kamui and sucked all 3 of them into the space. When the 3 left, there was a commotion in the crowd. Is the final battle in 3 days? Is it finally going to be a decisive battle? When this war is over, I will retire from being a ninja. I'm still waiting to go back to attend my daughter's wedding after the war. Because of bordered soil's poor performance, everyone was not too worried about the final battle in 3 days. They were looking forward to it. Just as Garashi was about to release the body, Sasuke came over and asked. Garashi-sama, how is Naruto? Can he catch up with the final battle? Garashi smiled. Don't worry, his foundation is very good, and with my treatment, he will recover in 1 day at most. That's good. Sasuke's mouth rose slightly. The battle without that guy always feels boring. The final battle in 3 days? On the other side, Reikage rubbed his fist and looked in a certain direction. Speaking of which, it seems that there is still some work to be done in this war. Reikage's eyes widened. What's with that look? Ace said loudly. Dad, I decided not to seal you first. Let's fight a few more times. Just as a training before the final battle, don't think too much about it. Reikage, $#, in the Kamui space. Black Zetsu put down the dying bordered soil and asked. Madara-sama, do you want Kabuto continue to harass them in these 3 days? However, Madara did not speak, just looked at him with calm eyes. Black Zetsu was scared and asked tentatively. Madara-sama? What's wrong with you? Madara narrowed his eyes. Putting aside the Edo Tensei for the time being, I have a question now. As my consciousness, how did you break the body of 6 paths with your palm? Chapter 561. Black Zetsu was shocked. When did Madara become so sensitive? He said aggrievedly, it's just reaching out. And, isn't this what Madara-sama asked me to do? Reaching out? Madara's face was gloomy. Yes, I did ask you to do this, but this is because I misjudged the power of 6 paths before. Now, I myself have the body of 6 paths. No one knows the strength of this body better than me. How can you break his defense? Damn, shouldn't I succeed? Black Zetsu scolded in his heart, and his little brain worked quickly. I think this is because, no need to explain. Madara said in a deep voice, the simplest way to judge whether you have been replaced is to let you return to your body as my consciousness. If you can return completely, it proves that I think too much, if not, hee. Hearing Madara's gloomy laughter, Black Zetsu's heart trembled, and he simply spread out his hands. You can see it, Madara-sama. As for my identity, don't try to weave any lies. Your identity has been seen through by me. Madara said with certainty. You are the one who exchanged eyes with bordered soil, right? To be precise, he took the opportunity to replace Black Zetsu's consciousness when he traded with bordered soil. Black Zetsu's eyes widened. You, seeing the shocked look on Black Zetsu's face, Madara smiled contemptuously and continued to enjoy the pleasure of reasoning. You can break Obito's 6 paths body because of those eyes, right? You used Rinnegan eyeshadow to wake up bordered soil's mind and let him take the initiative to let go of his defense. As for giving up the power of 6 paths, it should be that your body is not in a good state, and it is difficult to suppress the consciousness of the Jubi, so you let me temporarily replace it. Moreover, you are also afraid of the power of those ninjas. You want to wait for me to clear the obstacles, and then use your hand to pick the peach. If I continue to use this eye, the next person you reach out to will be me. You inferred the right answer from a completely wrong direction. What a logic ghost. Black Zetsu sighed. Sure enough, the biggest difference between you and bordered soil is IQ. I can control him, but I can't control you at all. Don't think that I will let you go if you flatter me. Madara snorted. Tell me your identity. Now, I won't hide it from you. Black Zetsu said. Yes, I am your uncle. Madara's eyes were cold. What? It's true, Black Jew said. In terms of bloodline, he's your ancestor. Then, before Madara's attack, Black Zetsu quickly told his story. However, he changed from Kagaya's consciousness from Kagaya's consciousness. Madara frowned and didn't believe him. What evidence do you have for what you said? Black Zetsu say, you are not the best? Do you really think that evolving the Rinnegan is your own effort? You are indeed a genius, but the world is not short of geniuses. The reason why you are special is that you are the reincarnation of the 6 Paths Sage's son. Also, why did you and Hashirama go from being good friends to opposing each other? It's because of your own destiny. Indra was dissatisfied with his father's favoritism to his younger brother. He cursed himself that the reincarnation of Chakra would always be entangled with his younger brother until the end of the world. Madara didn't care about anything else, but when he heard the last sentence, he narrowed his eyes. According to you, I should be Hashirama's brother? I said so much, and you only heard this? You deserve it. Black Zetsu said in his heart. With the 6 Paths Sage's favoritism to his youngest son, you are destined to fail. Wait, you said the 6 Paths Sage is still alive? Madara's face changed slightly. Dead. But for people in his field, death is just another form of existence. Black Zetsu continued, for you, as the Jubi's Jinchuriki, this should not be difficult to understand, right? Madara nodded. Indeed, he now felt that he could live forever. But I don't understand, since he is alive, why doesn't he stand up to end the chaos? With his power, no one can oppose him, right? Black Zetsu sneered. He thinks that peace won by force and fear is not real peace. Madara said coldly. No matter how fake peace is, it is 10,000 times better than real war. Moreover, as long as he can exist forever, he can maintain the fake peace all the time, right? Black Zetsu spread out his hands. See, now you can understand why Indra is not favored by the 6 paths, but Azura, who has unrealistic fantasies, can be favored by the 6 paths. The look on Madara's face kept changing, and finally he breathed a sigh of relief. I will verify what you said in person. Black Zetsu didn't expect Madara to believe it so quickly, as long as Madara's idea of father's death, son's laughter was firm. After all, according to his big brother, the 6 paths will come out in the end. What about you? What's your purpose? Madara's eyes became sharp. Didn't you already infer it before? Black Zetsu sighed. The main body wants you to stand in front and deal with the 6 paths. Madara didn't comment. What's his plan now? Don't you want to verify the answer yourself? After you verify the answer, the main body will naturally appear and deal with the 6 paths with you. Madara squinted. What if he doesn't appear then? Black Zetsu said. The main body's eyes are not in your hands. As long as you crush the eyes as a threat, the main body will naturally appear. Madara's mouth twitched. After cheating his mother, father, and son, is there finally an operation to cheat the main body? Otsutsuki is really a genius. At the same time, in the temporary conference room, Hashirama looked at Tobirama with a worried face. Tobirama, is there really no way to recover your hand? Tobirama said calmly, we are all dead. What do we care about? Yes, we are dead. Hashirama suddenly realized. Tobirama's eyes twitched, and he no longer cared about him. He looked at the other people sitting in the conference room. After the enemy was defeated, everyone relaxed a lot, but I think everyone here should be able to see the crisis, right? Inoki nodded. The same Jubi's Jinchuriki, Madara's difficulty is definitely not comparable to the Uchiha-bordered soil. Raza's expression was also dignified. The tree absorbed a huge amount of chakra, and after recovering the tree, Madara is closer to perfection. Tobirama took a deep breath. And the most important point is that the Uchiha-bordered soil's extra means that we may still have hidden enemies to deal with. P.S. The chapter in the morning is bad, and the chapter in the early morning should be good. Chapter 562. Everyone in the meeting room looked solemn. Indeed, the extra Rinnegan was the key to the problem. After a moment of silence, Empress Shomiai asked, is it possible that they dug out the Rinnegan from a tomb? It's not impossible. Raza said, a lot of history before the Warring States period has been lost. Maybe it's the owner of the Rinnegan from a long time ago. But we must be prepared for the enemy to have the Rinnegan. Hiruzen emphasized. But, how should we prepare? Tsunade asked. Only Dojitsu can defeat Dojitsu. Tobirama said, didn't the leader tell us how to advance the Rinnegan? We can let Uchiha Sasuke try. Let Sasuke try to advance the Rinnegan. Tsunade frowned, is there enough time in 3 days? Whether it's successful or not, at least try. Tobirama continued, and Naruto, he's the only one who can enter Sage mode on his own except for Big Brother, Minato, and Mizuki. In these 3 days, I will let Big Brother strengthen him. And we, in addition to familiarizing ourselves with the power of curses, we also have to seal the active Edo Tensei in the modern world to weaken the enemy's strength as much as possible. At this time, Orochimaru suddenly said, it's a pity to seal them, why don't we transform them into our strength? You want to persuade Kabuto? Tsunade frowned, he's indeed your subordinate, but he's also a man full of ambition. It's unlikely that he will continue to listen to your orders. Ambition? Orochimaru licked his lips, you may be mistaken, that child is just a poor man who wants to prove his existence, but lost his way. Hiruzen didn't doubt his ability, those strong Edo Tensei will only be more dangerous if they're controlled by people like you, right? Orochimaru smiled softly, is that how sensei sees me? You really made me, your disciple, sad. I have ambition, but my ambition is based on reality. Falling into the illusion is not the result I want. Tobirama thought seriously for a moment, okay, it's up to you. Don't worry. Orochimaru smiled gloomily, although I'm sure I can persuade that child, I have to see him first. He has a lot of powerful people now. Tobirama naturally understood what he meant, you want to find helpers? Yes. Orochimaru smiled, I think Sasuke and Naruto are very suitable, and don't they also want to talk to some dead people? Tsunade subconsciously refused, no, if they're taken away. Tobirama nodded, Naruto is Kyuubi's Jinchurikis, Madara's prides, he won't care to them. Tobirama nodded. Yes, with Madara's current vision, only the leader can be valued by him. Even his elder brother may not be in his eyes. Tsunade said hesitantly, but you have to ask for their opinion. Tobirama added, the two of them still have special training. I'll give you a day at most. 1 day's enough. Orochimaru smiled. The most time-consuming part of the capture mission is to find people. With my chakra in Kabuto's body, it's not difficult to find him. Outside. Suigetsu held the back of his head with both hands and complained, in the end, you're still excluded. I thought they would consider your opinion. Sasuke looked indifferent. They invited me, but I have no interest in these boring meetings. I'm only loyal to my own strength. Well, it's your style. Suigetsu shrugged. They walked to the temporary hospital and found Naruto's ward. When they went in, they saw Naruto sitting on the bed with his eyes closed. I thought you would be a little decadent for a few days, but now you look much better than I thought. Sasuke raised his eyebrows. Naruto opened his eyes and wasn't excited to see Sasuke. Instead, he said firmly, there's no time to be decadent. I must increase my strength as much as possible and save Kurama. What can you do in 3 days? It's nothing more than seeking psychological comfort. Sasuke said disdainfully, instead of spending time on this, it's better to practice cooperation with me. Naruto's eyes widened. You actually took the initiative to practice cooperation with me? Don't think too much. Sasuke snorted coldly. If it weren't for Garashi-sama saying that the nature of our strength is very suitable and that we can exert more strength together, I wouldn't bother to come to you. Naruto was also proud. In order to save Kurama, I'll reluctantly agree. At this time, Orochimaru's voice came from the door. The tacit understanding of cooperation can only be reflected in actual combat. I happen to have an opportunity here. Suigetsu, standing at the door, was startled by the sudden voice behind him. He hurriedly jumped behind Sasuke and quietly poked his head out. Sasuke, don't believe what he said. He's Orochimaru. Sasuke ignored him. Opportunity? What do you want to say? Orochimaru repeated the conversation in the meeting. How about it? Do you want to come? Sasuke didn't comment and asked other questions. You should be able to use ninjutsu now, right? Orochimaru's eyes narrowed slightly. Yes, when Sama released the souls of the 4 Naruto from Shinigami's body, the souls in my hands also escaped. Sasuke's eyes flashed. Well, help me Edo reincarnate 2 people, and I'll help you deal with Kabuto Yakushi. Orochimaru asked with interest, who do you want me to help you reincarnate? Sasuke put his right hand on the hilt of Kuzunagi's sword at his waist. I want to teach someone a lesson, but my identity and the kindness of being protected by him are destined to prevent me from doing it. Orochimaru instantly understood and couldn't help but clap his hands. That's great. The person you want to teach is the guy who makes me very unhappy. Naruto was confused. Who do you want to reincarnate? Who is the person you want to teach a lesson to? You'll know when the time comes. Orochimaru looked at Naruto with a smile. What about you? Do you have anyone you want to reincarnate? I don't. Wait, I also want to reincarnate 2 people. Naruto shouted. Oh. Who do you want to reincarnate? Orochimaru asked with interest. Jiraiya? Naruto nodded. In addition to Jiraiya, sensei, I also want to reincarnate the leader of Akatsuki, the real pain. The real pain. Orochimaru recalled. I remember Jiraiya said that the leader of the 3 brats seems to be called Yahiko? Naruto nodded again and again. That's him. It sounds interesting. Orochimaru rubbed his chin. But, their bodies. Pain's body was taken away, but Yahiko's body is still in Wood Leaf. As for Jiraiya, sensei, I heard from Kurama that when I was in Yanbi, I seemed to have accidentally injured Jiraiya, sensei. There should be some traces of his treatment in the hospital at that time. He was seriously injured by you in Yanbi? Orochimaru's first reaction was disbelief. When he couldn't form seals with his hands, he could fight back and forth with the Yanbi Naruto. How could Jiraiya be so weak? But he soon understood. Oh, he's still the same. He didn't hesitate to hurt himself to protect others. Naruto lowered his head sadly. Lascivious-sensei. Orochimaru smiled. Let's go, I also want to see my old friend. Chapter 563. Wood Leaf, in the woods behind Naruto Rock. Orochimaru formed a seal with both hands, Edo Tensei. The 4 white Zetsu bodies in the formation were covered in dust. Under Naruto and Sasuke's expectant gaze, the 4 bodies gradually turned into their memories, and then opened their eyes. Aren't I dead? Fugaku was in a trance. Fugaku, is this hell? Mikoto asked. This doesn't seem to be the rain country. Yahiko wondered. Orochimaru, did you use Edo Tensei to resurrect us? Jiraiya reacted quickly. Orochimaru laughed and said, don't be angry, I resurrected you at the request of these 2. Naruto waved his arms excitedly, lascivious Sennin. Jiraiya stared. Naruto, why are you here? Yahiko looked at him. Jiraiya, sensei. Even you are dead? Sasuke stepped forward with restrained emotions. Dad, Mom. Fugaku's voice trembled. Sasuke, it's you. Mikoto's eyes were wet. You've grown so big. I'm sorry for making you suffer. Fugaku calmed down. Sasuke, what's going on? Also, how is Itachi now? Sasuke said in a deep voice, I killed him. And I know everything at that time. You. Fugaku sighed. In the end, it still came to this step. Mikoto was even more depressed. The son killed the father, the younger brother killed the older brother. This is the tragedy of the world. Sasuke was silent for a moment, and continued, as for the current situation, Uchiha Madara resurrected, intending to destroy the world, and the 5 shinobi villages united against the enemy. Itachi was also reincarnated by the enemy. Although I'm not afraid of him, I can't deal with him after knowing the truth, so I want to ask Mom and Dad to beat him up. Fugaku and Mikoto were stunned by this series of shocking news at first, but when they heard the end, they suddenly felt itchy. Although they were killed by Itachi voluntarily, how could they not complain in their hearts? Between the family and the village, Itachi chose the village. Moreover, did Itachi really choose the village? Will the village fall into chaos if the Uchiha ascends to the throne? In their opinion, Itachi had been brainwashed by the higher-ups. Rather than saying that he had chosen the village, it was better to say that he had chosen the village's higher-ups. Thinking about that, Fugaku heaved a sigh of relief. Alright, I don't have so many concerns after I die. I can indeed fight without restraint for once. On the other side, Jiraiya and Yahiko learned about the current situation from Orochimaru. Who would have thought that so many unforeseen events would occur after my death? Jiraiya sighed. Yahiko's expression was complicated. Is it because of my death that Nagato embarked on the path of revenge? This kind of Nagato makes me feel unfamiliar. Orochimaru laughed. What do you think? Should I give him a good beating? Beating the former leader, it's really exciting to think about it. Yahiko ignored him and said in a deep voice, even if he is dead, he still lives in hatred. This is not Nagato's fate. I put too much pressure on him and let him carry my ideals on his shoulders. Now, it's my turn to enlighten him. At night, Nagato sat on the stone steps and looked at the night sky quietly. Suddenly, the sound of grass being stepped on came from behind him. Nagato subconsciously looked back and was surprised. Conan, you seem to have become a lot younger. Conan stroked his temples, because I am Conan from a parallel universe. Parallel universe? Nagato was puzzled. I came here today just to tell you a story. Conan said seriously, the story of another life. Another life? Xiao Nan nodded and told him about her experience in the other spacetime. Nagato's face was full of shock. So this is the parallel universe you were talking about? So, the person who defeated me also came from that world? Conan nodded silently. Although my end in that universe was not very good, he was indeed much luckier than me. Nagato sighed with emotion and immediately asked, you said this to make me give up my hatred? I really don't want you to die in peace. But no matter what you think, I will not interfere with your decision. Sure enough, Conan, you are always so gentle. Nagato shook his head slightly. Unfortunately, I don't have the sense of relief. At this time, there was a sudden noise from the outside world. Nagato looked outside. It seems that the enemy is coming. Before I am controlled by that mouse, I'd better do something. Conan, be careful. When Nagato's figure disappeared, Conan sighed. Uncle asked me to enlighten the Nagato of this world, but it seems that he failed. I don't know how Uncle is doing. Why did he suddenly ask me to tell a story? Outside world. Itachi's usually calm face showed a helpless and bitter expression. Father, mother, what are you doing? I heard from Sasuke that you used Tsukuyami on him when he was 12 years old. Mikoto held a stick with a frosty face. I just want Sasuke to grow up faster. Itachi smiled bitterly. He was also helpless. When Sasuke was 7 years old, he was stimulated by the death of his entire clan, and when he was 12 years old, he opened 2 tomo. At this rate, even when he was terminally ill, Sasuke might not be able to open 3 tomo. With this kind of strength, how could he protect himself in this chaotic world? So, you let him be targeted by some disgusting and dangerous bastards? Fugaku said and looked to the side. Orochimaru-sama, don't mind me, I'm not talking about you. Although he said that, his tone clearly meant, I'm offended, if you don't like it, come and fight me. Orochimaru's mouth twitched, and he thought, I don't care about the dead. After all, he was aiming for the body of the other person's son. It was normal for him to be angry. Disgusting and dark, but it shouldn't be dangerous, right? Itachi looked at Orochimaru and said hesitantly. Orochimaru's face stiffened. Sure enough, the 3 of them were annoying. What about Guardian Woodleaf? You want to use genjutsu on your own brother? Fugaku continued to question. Just when Itachi was having a headache, Nagato's voice came from a distance. Itachi, it seems that you are in trouble. Do you need my help? Without waiting for Itachi to respond, Yahiko shouted, Nagato, it's me. Nagato's body stiffened, and he almost fell between the trees. Me, Yahiko? Looking at the skinny Nagato, Yahiko said sadly, I'm sorry. It's all because I let you bear too much pressure, so you became like this. Nagato shook his head frantically. The one who should say sorry is me. I didn't protect you at that time. It's my fault. If I didn't take the initiative to die in your hands, you wouldn't live in pain. It's my fault. If I could master the ability of Rinnegan earlier, you wouldn't have to die. It's my fault. No, it's my fault. Orochimaru looked at the 2 with interest. If Yahiko blamed Nagato like Fugaku and Mikoto, it may make Nagato go to the other extreme. But he put all the blame on himself and let Nagato come out of the abyss of hatred. Should I say, he's the real leader of the Akatsuki? Chapter 564. Jiraiya joined in fact, it's all my fault. I imposed the fate of the child of prophecy on Nagato, so you suffered that kind of misfortune. No, it's our fault. Yahiko said, Jiraiya, sensei, you protected us and taught us ninjutsu, but in the end, you died in my hands. No, it's my fault. Nagato said in a heavy tone, I wanted you, Yahiko, to be the leader of the Akatsuki and enjoy this glory, but in fact, I made you my tool, stained with blood. I said, it's my fault. Jiraiya slapped himself fiercely. Jiraiya, sensei, don't be like this. Yahiko also slapped himself. TSK, Jiraiya apologizes to Nagato, Nagato apologizes to Yahiko, Yahiko apologizes to Jiraiya. Sure enough, the triangle is the most stable structure. With such a sigh, Orochimaru walked into the cave. In the cave, Kabuto quietly crushed a chess piece and looked up at the person who came. As expected of Orochimaru-sama, you actually came up with this method to let them forcibly break free from my shackles with their own consciousness. Orochimaru looked strange. You may not believe it, but at first, I just asked them to be thugs. Itachi, who was aware of the domestic violence, and the 3 people who kept slapping him, the corners of his eyes twitched wildly. Forget it, let's not talk about those wastes. Is Orochimaru-sama here to take back everything I have? No, I have no interest in these things you put together. Orochimaru shook his head. Oh. Then you're persuading me to surrender? Kabuto excitedly shook his tail. With all due respect, the current Orochimaru-sama has no binding force on me. I'm a dragon that has surpassed the snake. Orochimaru was not angry, he just smiled. Of course, I don't think you can be persuaded by my words, but there may be someone who can. Kabuto picked up a chess piece and gently twisted it. I'm no longer a chess piece on the chessboard, no one can affect me. Orochimaru didn't comment. Oh, you fulfilled so many people's dreams, but no one fulfilled your dream, isn't it sad? Let me give you a hand. With that, he directly summoned a standing coffin. The coffin lid of the coffin lid, a woman with a gentle face came out. Seeing this person, Kabuto suddenly became quiet. His tail suddenly became quiet. His tail suddenly returned to his trench coat. Seeing Kabuto's action of learning tattoos outside and subconsciously hiding the tattoos after seeing his parents, Orochimaru chuckled in his heart. Sure enough, I still can't replace your position in his heart, Yakushi Nanoyu. Nanoyu looked around in confusion. Orochimaru-sama. Also, you are. Kabuto? Liar, it must be a liar. Kabuto, who was originally a little uneasy, suddenly looked at Orochimaru excitedly and shouted, Didn't you say that she recognized my growth by relying on photos? That's why she didn't recognize me at that time. Then why does she recognize me now? You must be controlling her thoughts from behind. Orochimaru spread out his hands. I didn't use charms to control her thoughts. It shouldn't be difficult for you, who is also the caster of Edo Tensei, to determine, right? She pressed her forehead and said softly, a person's voice will change, their appearance will change, but the light in the depths of their eyes will not change. Kabuto was confused again. Then why did you? Orochimaru shrugged. Sorry, I concealed part of the truth at that time. In addition to secretly replacing the photos, Danzo also cast genjutsu on her. Kabuto's eyes bloomed with a strong light. In other words, the dean did not forget me. Nanoyu smiled bitterly. Sorry, during the time when I was under genjutsu, I really did not remember you. Kabuto shook his head. I have become like this today, but you can recognize me at a glance, proving that fetters do not necessarily have to be maintained by things like glasses or names. The inner feelings are the fetters that transcend all boundaries. Orochimaru clapped his hands. That is, you did not die and were not reincarnated by Edo Tensei. Otherwise, with your awareness, I am afraid that your soul will be forced to ascend to heaven. Kabuto was silent for a moment. Let's go, now I no longer need to prove my existence to others. I am me, Kabuto of the Woodleaf Orphanage. After learning that the army of Edo Tensei stood on the side of the coalition, everyone was very excited for a while, but that was all. Before the final enemy was defeated, victory or defeat did not mean anything. Of course, Danzo still scolded him. If he had not used his talent to kill his own people, Kabuto would not have done so many messy things. In the harmonious atmosphere of hard work, dreams, and scolding Danzo, 3 days passed in a flash. When dawn broke, everyone couldn't help but be nervous. Finally, this day has come. I don't know how many of us will survive after the war is over. I am afraid of death, but I am more afraid that my children will always live in falsehood. Yes, in order to leave a real world for future generations, we must defeat Uchiha Madara. Hearing these firm voices, Hashirama was encouraged. With such faith, we will never lose. Anyway, we have done our best. Tobirama sighed and asked, how is Naruto's cultivation going? Naruto? Hashirama gave a thumbs up. He can enter Sage mode instantly. Tobirama couldn't help but be moved. So fast? Brother, it took you a few years to master it, right? It should be that he experienced the capture of Kyubi, the reincarnation of Sensei, and the awakening of the enemy, which made him enter a state of great peace and joy, and his spiritual realm grew rapidly. Hashirama analyzed. It turned out to be like this. Tobirama felt that it was barely acceptable. Hashirama asked, by the way, what about the Uchiha boy? Tobirama said, although he didn't open the Rinnegan, his control of the Manjiki Sharingan has reached the extreme, and he has developed Susanoo to its complete form. Hashirama whistled, you are making good progress on your side. I was surprised by his progress, but after listening to your analysis of Naruto, I almost understand. Tobirama looked at the family of four, he experienced the joy of seeing his parents again, and vented the accumulated resentment in his heart, and his soul was baptized and purified. Speaking of which, Madara and I also had such a period of rapid improvement. Hashirama recalled, at that time, we experienced the joy of being like-minded, and the pain of both sides' fathers forcing us to break up, and then we continued to grow. Chapter 565. Just as everyone was discussing nervously, the sky suddenly darkened. Everyone looked up and saw a mountain falling from the sky. Many sharp-eyed people found that there were 5 heads carved on one side of the mountain. It was Woodleaf's Naruto rock. It must be that bastard Madara. Hashirama looked unhappy, and the warmth of the memory disappeared in an instant. Everyone in the coalition was a little panicked. They had not experienced the baptism of meteorites in this world. Facing such an unimaginable attack, they were inevitably panicked. Are you kidding me? The mountain fell from the sky. Is this the power of Uchiha Madara? Damn it, our strength is too small. Hashirama clapped his hands, and a huge Buddha statue of thousands of meters high was almost completed in an instant, making a gesture of holding a baby. After the impact of the fall of Naruto rock destroyed more than a dozen big Buddha arms, it was firmly held in the arms of the remaining 900 arms. Everyone just breathed a sigh of relief, and the figure of Madara flew from the sky, laughing wildly. Hashirama, are you satisfied with the gift I gave you? Hashirama carefully put the Naruto rock on the ground and said angrily, Naruto rock is a precious property that symbolizes the will of fire. How can you throw it down like garbage? Madara laughed wildly, anyway, Woodleaf is gone from today. It's better to destroy these things in advance. Seeing what Hashirama wanted to say, Tobirama took 2 steps forward, there's nothing to say to this arrogant madman. Get ready to fight. Fight, with just you? Madara disdained, let's find that person. Only he can stop me a little. Tobirama still remembered Garashi's words. Call him at the last moment. Naturally, now is not the time. Wait until you defeat us. Now standing here is the whole ninja world. Oh, since you want to die, then I won't stop you. Madara waved the sage staff, and the truth-seeking ball floating behind him instantly shot out. Use the power of the curse seal. Tobirama quickly ordered. Back then, Garashi had only used Yugo's body as a medium to plant the seeds of the curse in everyone's bodies. After 3 days of training, they were able to use the key on their own. After receiving the order, everyone quickly transformed. Curse seal, Grand Fireball. Incantation, True Space Jade. Previously, the power gathered by tens of thousands of senjutsu was already comparable to the bordered soil's truth-seeking ball. Although Madara, who had absorbed the divine tree, was far stronger than the bordered soil, the army gathered here was much more than the previous 4th division. After a violent collision, the torrent of senjutsu broke through the truth-seeking ball and rushed toward Madara without any reduction in power. It's rare to see an immortal technique torrent of nearly 100,000 people. It's quite spectacular. Madara didn't panic and commented with interest, however, I'm not bordered soil, the waste of a brainless truth-seeking ball. Let me show you my strength, Chibaku Tensei. Unlike Nagato's single Chibaku Tensei, Madara created hundreds of black gravitational cores at once. Those gravitational cores were suspended in the air, not only attracting all kinds of rock formations, but even the torrent of senjutsu was pulled and gathered around the meteorites. For a while, hundreds of small meteorites surrounded by wind, fire, and thunder fell from the sky. Not only that, but the meteorites also emitted a strong gravitational force as they fell, pulling everyone into the sky. Mokuton, tree realm descending. Hashirama reacted in time, while taking root in the deeper layers of the earth. He used vines to entangle the coalition forces who were pulled by the gravity. The rest of the people were not idle. Naruto entered Sage mode and threw out a raisin shuriken to split more than a dozen meteorites. Sasuke transformed into Susanoo and waved his odachi to cut off the nearby meteorites. Even Sakura was not willing to fall behind. She jumped up and broke a meteorite with a punch. For a group of strong people, it was not difficult to break one or two small meteorites. For a while, the stars fell like rain. However, Tobirama was alert. Everyone be careful, Madara is gone. Minato recalled the previous sneak attack by bordered soil with a shrunken black stick. Be careful of his ability to shrink himself. Ha, it's too late. Madara's iconic laughter came from behind Hashirama. Hashirama's current strength was not comparable to Madara's, and he was distracted by controlling the sea of trees to save people. Naturally, he was not Madara's opponent. Just in an instant, he was trampled under Madara's feet. It's over. Hashirama smiled bitterly in his heart, thinking that he was going to be completely destroyed by Madara with truth-seeking ball, but he found that Madara did not do so, but turned into a juicer and absorbed the Senjutsu chakra from his body. Minato and Tobirama reacted quickly and teleported to Hashirama's side with Flying Thunder God Jutsu. Madara did not fight back, but directly threw Hashirama, who had turned into dregs, to them, and then flew into the air and laughed wildly. Now, I can also use Senjutsu, and it's six-path Senjutsu. Six-path Senjutsu, what is that? Tobirama subconsciously looked at his big brother, who was sucked out of Sage mode. Hashirama shook his head weakly. I don't know. Pretending to be a ghost, eat my sword. Sasuke's tone was indifferent as he attached the curse power and Amaterasu black flame to Susanoo's blade and slashed down. Senjutsu, mist release light tooth. Madara spat out a laser from his mouth and directly cut off Susanoo's sword. What? My attack. Sasuke was shocked, and then he saw Madara open his mouth again, as if he was going to cut Susanoo in half. However, everyone naturally couldn't watch Sasuke being attacked. Naruto's wind release raisin shuriken, Inoki and Wuji's dust release, third Raikage and fourth Raikage ninjutsu, Itachi's Gundam. If it was hundreds of thousands of people, Madara could naturally ignore it, but there were nearly 100,000 troops here, and many of them were powerful ninjas. For a while, even Madara could only escape in embarrassment. After dodging several attacks in a row, Madara looked at the people below with gloomy eyes. Humph, a group of annoying ants, forcing me to trample you to death. Senjutsu, tree world descending. Senjutsu, great fire annihilation. Hashirama's wood release was originally difficult to ignite, but the fire release with six-path Senjutsu was different. It was almost the best fuel. The sea of trees left by Hashirama and the sea of trees summoned by Madara were ignited at the same time, and the terrifying sea of fire almost drowned the entire battlefield. Although there are many ninjas in the allied forces who are good at water release, it is difficult to extinguish the fire with ordinary water release. Adding the power of the curse seal to the water release seems like a drop in the bucket in front of this fire. Seeing this situation, Hashirama hurriedly said, Tobirama, use your sea release. Tobirama's mouth twitched. I don't have hands, how can I print? Chapter 566. Damn it, if you didn't mention it, I would have forgotten that ninjutsu requires hand seals. Hashirama gritted his teeth. Tobirama felt offended, but he couldn't say anything at this moment. I can only ask Garashi-sama for help. After that, Tobirama disappeared in an instant, and when he recovered, the two had already appeared in front of him. So fast. Hashirama was shocked. Tobirama didn't have time to pay attention to him. Garashi-sama, please. You're welcome, Naidame-sama. Garashi said helplessly. He had planned to wait for Guy's performance, but now Madara forced him to appear in advance. Immortal method, water release, Great Lake Technique. After Garashi symbolically printed, a big river poured down from the sky and directly extinguished the sea of fire. Not only that, the lake was also very flexible to lift the submerged ninjas to the surface of the lake so that they would not drown. Oh, we're saved. There seems to be a vitality in this lake that healed my burns. Oh, it's true. I know, it must be the Sama who defeated pain. He saved us with a rain at that time. In these cheers, Madara's aggressive eyes were cast over. Finally, you can't help but appear. Garashi's mouth rose slightly. Are you the new god who replaced bordered soil? I'm. Madara suddenly froze. When he and Black Zetsu reviewed the situation after the war, he thought that the turning point of bordered soil's madness might be the words of Black Zetsu. And now Madara suddenly mentioned this sentence, which confirmed his guess. Thinking of this, Madara quickly cleared his relationship. Of course, I'm not a god. Haha. Garashi's laughter was full of sarcasm in Madara's ears, and he couldn't help but be angry. Hey! Laugh all you want, this is the only time you can laugh. Immortal Method, Release, Lightning School. The branch-like forked lightning bolts shot towards Garashi, and even space itself was faintly trembling. I can finally make my move. Garashi sighed. Speed is power. Have you ever been kicked by light? What did you say? Madara wondered, then he saw the other side suddenly disappear, and then a powerful force acted on his chest. Madara's chest instantly caved in, and he flew out like a cannonball and fell heavily on the ground. This sudden turn of events left everyone dumbfounded. Even if it's teleportation, it takes some time to react, but the speed of this man seems to be faster than teleportation. Even Madara, who has the body of 6 paths and Rinnegan, didn't react. Madara flew out of the huge pit in the ground. The injury on his chest had been completely healed, but his eyes were full of disbelief. What is this power? Garashi said concisely, light escape. Light escape? Was this another type of blood inheritance elimination? Oh, worthy of my opponent. Madara twisted his neck. Don't think that this is my limit, God cough. Madara subconsciously wanted to say a few words, but he took it back in time. He felt a little uncomfortable and turned his anger into strength. Immortal Method, Lightning Release, Chakra Mode. Activating the body cells is actually at the cost of increasing the burden on the body, but the body of 6 paths is so powerful that it can quickly repair the 8 gates. In this case, he can naturally enhance the activation level unscrupulously. My reaction and speed are more than twice as fast as before. Madara's confidence was greatly boosted, and he laughed wildly. Come on, kick me again. This is the first time I've heard such a request. Garashi waved his right hand, and the river flowing quietly below suddenly turned into a water dragon and rushed to the sky. Water release? This level of attack is too boring. Madara clapped his hand, and the shock wave formed by the vibrating air shattered the water dragon. Looking at the torrential rain after the water dragon was smashed, Garashi seriously printed. Immortal Method, Ice Release, Mokbo Demo. The raindrops were frozen, but they did not fall because of gravity, but like ice crystal decorations on the sky. As the time and space nodes, they froze the time and space together. Madara was shocked. Time has become slow. In this frozen time and space, Garashi rushed in like an arrow and kicked Madara's chest. The next moment, the frozen picture cracked like a broken mirror, and then Madara fell into the huge pit again. Sure enough, Madara is weaker than I thought. Garashi stood quietly in the sky and secretly evaluated. Under normal circumstances, with the strength of his clone, he is naturally far from the opponent of the enemy who has entered the realm of 6 paths, even if it is a clone constructed by the Sage of 6 Paths. However, neither Obito nor Madara had perfect control of the power of the 6 paths, especially Obito, who seemed to be powerful and majestic, but he could only use the truth-seeking jade back and forth, and he couldn't even use the power he had previously controlled. Although Madara is a little better, he has absorbed the sacred tree, and the amount of chakra he needs to control is several times that of bordered soil, but the most important thing is that the Rinnegan is not his own. In Garashi's view, Madara is now a skeleton in the grave. Even without Black Zetsu's sneak attack, Kagaya can subtly complete the devouring. In the original time and space, Madara relied on Rinnegan to barely control the power of the sacred tree, so Black Zetsu attacked and created an opportunity for Kagaya. Now Madara can't control the power of the sacred tree very well, and I'm exerting influence from the outside. Kagaya should be able to come out soon. In order to avoid this situation, I'm most likely going to make a move. Although in Garashi's view, defeating a weakened Madara is nothing to be proud of, in the eyes of the coalition forces, this scene is almost a miracle. Incarnate into light, freeze time and space. Even with Itachi's mind, he couldn't help but be stunned at the scene in front of him. What happened during the time I died? Did the gods come to the world? Too powerful. Nagato was so shocked that he held his breath. When he attacked me at that time, he definitely didn't use even 1/10 of his strength. Tsunade recalled Mizuki's previous words. It turns out that he said that Garashi is 100 times stronger than him. Jiraiya opened his mouth wide and regretted. With such a powerful big brother, why did I die at that time? What a loss. Seeing that they were so excited, Mizuki thought with pride, if they knew that it was just a clone of the leader who defeated Madara, they would probably faint. At this time, Madara flew out of the huge pit that had expanded a lot, trying to maintain his face. You deserve to be my opponent. Among the people I have fought, no one is better than you. I, Madara, am willing to call you the strongest. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.